Yes, we're here. We're here. It's Satanic Sunday Sabbath. We were talking last night. The Sabbath is a Jewish concept, and it's on a Saturday, I think.
Yeah.
But we grew up like remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. And in catechism, they taught us that was Sunday. Like Sunday was the Sabbath, and that's the day you're supposed to keep holy. So I grew up using Sabbath to mean Sunday. So I call this day the Sabbath, but I'm going to start calling it Satanic Sunday. So welcome to that. And if you're Christian or any other religion, feel free to substitute the deity of your choice. We're very multi-faith here and pluralistic. So what's up? What'd you do this weekend?
I've just been sick.
That's right. I forgot.
Taking medicine and sleeping.
Is it starting to work? You seen?
I'm still coughing some. I've still got some congestion, and my whole body hurts still from how pneumonia does you. But okay.
Well, we don't have to go long today if you don't want, or you can always.
You guys can go as long as you need to. If I have to jump off, I'll jump off.
Okay. Yeah, I've had the flu. I've had a flu for like a couple of weeks. Like the flu itself, maybe a week, and then it would linger for a week or two after.
Well, I saw this morning that you did a stream last night. I didn't even know about it.
It went great. I think I'm going to start doing more of it. I really, if I can pull it off, like if I had the right funding and I could do it full time, I would do a 24-hour. Like just keep it going, permanently open stream, and have a team that just kept it going, like we did with our Zoom during COVID.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And I could devote like 10, 8, 12 hours or so a day for it to keep it running. So if I do like the day stream and then start adding evening streams when I can, that'll at least expand the amount that we're able to stay open. A plus size coffee. What is plus size nowadays? You must have got it from a convenience store, because I think if you went in a coffee shop and asked for a plus size coffee, they would get fussy with you. At least here in Seattle. I never did learn coffee language the whole time I lived here. I just told them. I would point to the cup, or I would have them show me the cup sizes and point. I didn't use, what was it, venti, grande, all that other stuff. I still don't know what that is. Merchandise. Well, we talked about Chris is kind of the graphics person. We talked about having swag.
That was one thing I like about Streamlabs. Streamlabs has built-in merch, like a built-in merch thing where like they you can upload your designs and like it'll automatically like give you a merch store and it's like print on demand, so you don't actually have to like buy a bunch of merch before you try to sell it. It's like it'll just print it as people order it.
I checked our eligibility today, and we have all of our we have everything except the subscriber numbers. We have our viewing hours, our video uploads, all that is we've met the mark for everything but our subscribers.
Yeah, I saw that too.
So yeah, I enjoyed the stream last night, and I probably will do more. I might even do one tonight. It's kind of an evening by evening thing, and I'll try to schedule them 15 or half hour or so in advance if I decide.
Just give me a message when you're gonna do it, so I know. It's like I don't always see the notifications like on Discord. I turned a lot of notifications off except for direct messages and like messages like specifically like that are like
good thing, because all it is lately is people posting GIFs and memes.
Yeah, I know that's why I turned them all off. Like it wasn't. It's mostly because I've been driving a lot, and like whenever I'm driving, like the message it'll actually pop up the notification of Discord on the thing, and it just like interrupts the GPS and stuff. So.
Yeah, Discord nags you for every little thing. No, did we figure out what did it give us a solution? Did we figure out what to do with the homelessness? Was he the one that said to reopen the asylums or to not allow them to just openly be homeless? I think people should be free to adopt that kind of nomadic lifestyle if they want. I don't think people should be required to have a fixed shelter.
No.
They don't want one, but there's got to be a way to do it that minimizes the impact on the rest of us.
Well, right. I mean, like, there's one thing with a nomadic lifestyle and living under a bridge, though. You know, living under a public bridge. You know, like I feel bad for those people, but some of those people are doing it intentionally, or like they're voluntarily. And I don't know. I just think there needs to be like I don't know, like you can go camping in the woods or something. There's places you could camp in or something like that. I mean, like I just don't
you
think
live out of your car or like any of that
but
train.
all of that. There's people that literally like what they do is they camp under these bridges and then they just spend all day panhandling. And some of these people make a lot of money panhandling.
I didn't even really get into YouTube until I discovered the chat room. Like before the chat rooms, YouTube was just videos to me. It was the chat rooms that made YouTube the thing that it is. I can't imagine like not having a chat to interact with while I'm watching a video now. The interactivity of it was the thing that set YouTube apart from me from all my other social media. And I said forever on Twitter, wait till they get a video feature. Wait till they get Twitter Zoom or video on Twitter. And there was an announcement the other day that they're going to start rolling out video calls.
Right. And as an extension of the Twitter Spaces thing, which the Twitter Spaces thing is kind of like weird, kind of dumb. It's like, why not have video on it already?
It's like this, but no video. And
they already had Periscope. They did Periscope back in the day.
It's not open to the public. You have to be on the platform. Yeah, I had asked that last night. I forgot who brought the topic up. I'm not sure it was Denizen. But how do we pay for it? And they said just shift the current funding, which I guess is one option. But I think the criticism of the asylums was that they were too restrictive. There were people that could function in society that didn't necessarily need to be with the right support. They could function, and it didn't necessarily have to be inpatient.
That's kind of
so they came up with this outpatient community mental health concept, and they tried that for a while, and it still has potential, but they didn't educate and pull in enough of the community part to make it as effective as it could have been. They don't listen to me at all. I've worked within these systems, and I like on the ground pointing out all the things you could do differently here, there, and there, and the chain, like the effect it would have on the client. But they don't listen to me. But if I had to design them, I'm sure I could come up with the most important thing about them, I think, is their ability to be flexible. You cannot jam. I don't know how they do it in healthcare, but definitely with mental health, you cannot jam mental health people into a pre-designed system and just cram them into it. You have to have a system that flexes around their very individualized and unique conditions and symptoms and needs and all of that. And you have to be able to work with the patient on whatever therapeutic or life goals that y'all are trying to work on. And the system has to be able to support that and not get in the way of that. And it's just that the ones I've seen, at least up here, they're very like technocratic, very cookie cutter. So it helps whatever range that are amenable to that a pro. Like they can just be processed through the system, but that's not going to be most people in those situations. Are you here? Oh, I see. You
Come here.
when you
I got a notification. I was just looking at it.
looks like it was blurring you out too for a while.
Yeah, because I wasn't focusing on the camera.
Do you have a is your camera freestanding or it's the built-in?
It's freestanding. It's just there's no way I can move it up to where it doesn't look like I'm like if I move it all the way up to the top of the TV, then it looks like it looks even stranger. So I just tried it. I just set it here on top of the desktop, and which makes me look like I'm looking up all the time. But. So if I'm looking at you, I'm looking up from the camera. There's no way I can place it like where it's like right above the camera.
I look at the screen, the StreamYard screen, but the camera's actually above it. So I don't know how I don't look at myself, so I don't know how I'm actually coming across.
Yeah,
but
I'm
nobody's said anything yet.
I'm looking at you mostly. I'm looking at you mostly, but like if no matter where I place this camera, considering the setup, the only monitor I can hook up this desktop into is this TV. I don't have another. My other computer monitor got I sold one of my good computer monitors, and the other one got destroyed by water damage. So I don't have any other monitors that I can use for this. So like the only thing I can do is set up for this TV, and so it just looks weird. Oh man, I haven't even done really anything, but I feel so tired right now.
Well, just take a rest.
I mean, this is resting for me though.
Oh,
this is my rest. You see my phone that we got phones from it. There was an AT&T thing where you could trade in like it was like the same price as I was paying through Metro for a month, and we traded in our really crappy free phones, and we got like Google Pixel 8s or whatever. Pretty nice.
Oh, okay. That's a new phone.
Yeah, it didn't actually.
Does it have what is its like video editing capacity?
Yeah, no, it's got a lot of good stuff,
like live streaming in like when we start doing the on the street things.
Mm-hmm. No, it's really good for that. It's considered to be the best camera of any smartphone on the market. Even though so far I can't tell, I don't understand. Maybe I just don't understand the software, but like it seems really simplistic and like not all that great to me. But supposedly like if you want to edit stuff or whatever with it, it apparently has like a lot of like really interesting or really great like features on it. Like you can edit things out of pictures like really instantly. You can just point to something on the screen and it'll highlight it and it'll not just edit it out, like cut it out, but it'll replace it with the background. So like that, I don't know how it does a lot of that shit, but it can make motion videos. It can make it like if you take a picture of like somebody riding a bicycle, it can make it where the bicycle wheel keeps moving, even though it's a still picture. I don't know. It's
like the picture. It's just a photo, but the wheels.
It's a photo, but it can make the bicycle wheels keep spinning, even though like the picture's still.
And now we have AI. So
yeah,
I pretty much assume anything I can imagine, they're going to be able to do in the next year or so. Like even if it doesn't actually get implemented, the possibility of implementing it will be there. And I still want an AI panel.
Yeah, an AI panel that'll be a trip. I mean, it's probably possible to do right now, but I just don't know I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, I mean, Rowan does it.
Yeah. Well, he does it with his voice, but I'm saying like you could have
he does. Well, he does. No, he has like where they can make the AI faces on YouTube.
I know, but he's still doing all the voicing for it. He's still doing the voicing with the voice modulation. But I've seen people do videos where and they're probably still doing voice modulation too, where like they're doing like deep fake stuff where it looks like Joe Rogan's talking to whoever, and like they make up the voice, the dialogue for it, and go back and forth, have them talking about like Pokemon or something. Like I've seen videos like that. Like
It looks like real people.
yeah, it's deep fake match to like where it can manipulate the mouths of the pre-existing video, so it makes it looks like their mouths are moving in time with like the thing, and it looks pretty realistic. It looks pretty good. But I mean, it's obvious it's AI, but it's still pretty good.
I just want a live stream, a panel with guests, but none of them are actually humans. They're all AI, but nobody can tell looking at it. It's going to look just like we look now, and they're going to have different names and personalities.
That's probably gonna be one of the big twists of like that movie I'm working on. To be honest,
nobody in the movie is actually human.
Yeah.
They're all AI on the stream. That's a very meta commentary.
I really wish I could get through all of this house stuff so I could go back to working on it. I can't focus on any of that stuff right now because
I was about to ask if you're able to let all that go until you recover.
I'm trying. Until I can get recovered and get all the house stuff done, I can't do anything creative. Like my brain, whenever I've got this much like pressure on me, like I can't do anything creative really. Like this is like the most creative thing I can do is like having like conversations like this. This is not like therapy for me, to be honest. this helps keep me on my brain
YouTube therapy from
a
non-therapist.
It keeps me from like losing my shit, because like other without this, like I'd feel completely.
Are you in danger of losing your shit?
What?
Are you in danger of losing your shit?
If I didn't have like this outlet, yeah. I mean, I've got so much. I feel like I've got so much pressure on me right now. I don't know. I'm like really like. I just, and like I talked to my lawyer. What was it, 2 days ago? And like I thought that now that I got all the doctor's stuff done, I thought like I'd be in for like a standard, like maybe a 1 month wait. She's like, no, it's more like 1 to 6 months from this point for you.
Yeah, that sounds like normal.
Yeah, it's just
they're not in a rush.
But it doesn't make any sense though, because like when you think about it, like right, like if
because you're not a bureaucrat.
Well, because like, but it's a judge, right? It's a judge. Judges usually make judgments like in the courtroom, unless you're like the Supreme Court, and then they take their recess and they write their opinions and they come back out and they do that, and it takes them maybe a couple of weeks. So like these judges that are doing this, these law administrative judges, they're not taking time out to write opinion pieces or something on it. Like they must see 10 or 12 people a day. Like how are they even going to remember like who they must make the decision there on the spot and then just like not submit it for like a month. It doesn't make any sense.
Sure that just for no reason at all, just to be deliberately inefficient, he's making the decision, and then they're sitting on it for 6 months, and then they're like, okay, he's suffered enough, we'll send it out now. That's what's happening.
What do you think? I mean, what do you think is actually going on? I mean, I'm not.
Have you worked in bureaucracy or had much contact with bureaucracy?
Only in Amazon.
Slow. I don't know why it's slow, but it's fucking slow. And bureaucrats have a completely different psychology than you and I and the normal person.
You're right.
I don't know how they think or why their systems are like they are, but I know that you just kind of have to accept them and take them on their own terms. And if there's no way to expedite it, then you just have to let the process do its thing. That's one thing I personally don't like about modern society is like the higher we scale, the more impersonal. Like what is it, Gesellschaft or Gemeinschaft in Germany?
Right.
The impersonal and technocratic and kind of dehumanizing it gets, and mechanistic, and that's what I see happen. But I don't know what the solution is. Like on the scale that these systems are operating at, they almost don't have a choice but to be. I don't know what alternative method there is, but I don't like that that's the case. But I don't think it's a conspiracy or like people are trying to centralize or control.
I don't think it's a conspiracy. I don't think that it's. I'm not trying to say it's malicious even or anything like that. My statement was meant to say like, what is it? What could it be that they're doing?
They're not doing anything. There's like stages of the process, and the paper slowly makes its way through each one, depending on how backlogged, depending on the person they hire, their competency level, how slow they are.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably, the judge probably has a clerk. Right?
This is DMV level bureaucracy. Like I learned even like very early in life to have very low expectations of government bureaucracy. Maybe
weirdly
like,
enough,
especially Louisiana, but being here in Washington State and Seattle, it's not that different.
Yeah, but weirdly enough, I've had mostly good experience at the DMV.
I have too, because I learned how to work them. I learned how to like make them maximize the efficiency of them. When to go to have the shortest lines, how to make appointments in advance if there's an option, etc.
Like here in Dallas, it's impossible. You can't even get all the DMVs are all appointment only right now, and they have been since COVID. You can't get an appointment that's not like 3-4 months out. So we went to Texarkana because we needed to get Lindsay's license because like she had lost it a long time ago during the bad period, and we didn't, and I couldn't, since we couldn't find her old license, we couldn't just get it renewed because you need like the number off the bottom of it, so it's a long complicated thing. We went into the Texarkana DMV though, and I just wanted to ask them like if there was anything we could do, and they were like, "Just come on up, sweetie, we'll help you right out." And I got Lindsay out of the car. We brought her inside. We waited like 5 minutes, filled out one form. She took a picture and gave her license like we were in and out of there in less than 30 minutes.
She was like, "Yeah, this is no big deal."
So like,
we're like, yes.
And like and honestly, I've had good experiences. I don't have the DMV like disdain most people have, because my experience with the DMV have been mostly positive, which is weird. I know that lots of people have tons of bad experience with DMV. But like I've never really had bad experiences. I've never had bad experiences with any other government office, actually. I mean, and I can't even say like the Social Security office has just been a bad experience. They've been nice when I've dealt with them, but it's the waiting thing that's obviously the frustrating part. But I haven't had any like bad experiences with any government entities, for the most part, except for like the cop, except for the cop that tried to like entrap me with like that thing that sucked. Yeah. But other than that, like I haven't like had any like real bad like bureaucratic experiences. Like, to be honest, like for the most part, most of the bureaucrats I've worked with in those places have been really nice and human and willing to work with me and help me out whenever they could, So, but it wouldn't be I wouldn't be feeling this way if it weren't the fact that we're just like we're so desperately in need of being able to move. Like, we need to get out of here. Like, my refrigerator today, just the compressor stopped working. And I don't know what to do about that. It's not getting cold.
Well, you're going to have to fix it, replace it, or move. Is it your landlord's responsibility?
No, this is actually our refrigerator. We brought it with us, and
is it under warranty?
It's a fairly new refrigerator too, and I don't have the money to fix it, so like I don't know.
Is it under warranty?
The warranty ran out about a year ago. It's about 5 years old now, so it had a 4-year warranty on it. It's always the way it is with the warranties. They're always like, seems like they always time them.
If you go back to Texarkana, are you going to have help with stuff? Are you going to have more support and help with stuff like that?
You got me, man. I don't know. My family is pretty busy.
We saw the coffee shop.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm probably going to work at their coffee shop for them. That's part of the plan. Is I'm going to help them.
Are you going to be able to work?
I think I can handle it. Like, there's plenty of places I can I can lean on or stand. It's not like I don't have to be freestanding a lot, so I can do most of the stuff. I can stand at a stove and make muffins or whatever. I can stand and make coffee. If I have to sit down, like, at least because it's my parents' shop, I won't have to worry. I'm not gonna get paid. I mean, I'm just doing it to help my family out.
Oh, they're not gonna pay you?
I mean, I guess if they start making money, maybe they will. But I mean, like I'm doing it mostly to help my family out at first. Like I mean, I'm just doing it because like really the only person working there is my mom. My dad had a stroke. Half of his body is still doesn't work. He can only kind of like limp around and like he can kind of like operate the
I'm
cash.
just trying to figure out if you would have more support in Texarkana, so you're not floundering by yourself with just you and Lindsay in Dallas as these things pile up.
Yeah, probably. I mean, that's all depending on if once they actually give us the stamp of approval, we get the check, then we can move. Once we have that money, then we can find a place to move to. And then once we find a place to move to, it just depends on like where we find that place and like and how much support, what distance we're going to be from our family and stuff like that. It's just
So if you're too far away, they're not going to fool with you.
well, it's just not going to be very easy for them to help us in that case.
Well, like move somewhere close to. Don't move somewhere too far away. That's the point of going back there is access to this.
Which yeah, I mean, we're going to try to move somewhere close to downtown where the coffee shop is, and that'll help. But that is the more expensive part of the city to live in. But it's not even the most expensive part of the city to live in isn't that expensive when it comes to rentals. It's not that bad. I don't like the city. I don't like living there, but it's okay. I've come to peace with it.
I mean, you mostly don't. Well, how's the thrifting there? Because you mostly don't leave your house. Like most of your stuff is online, so it doesn't matter where you do that. But then there's things like you like
downtown
thrifting and stuff like that.
There is good internet downtown. They have good fiber internet downtown, so that's good. Thrifting isn't that good there. Thrifting's kind of shitty there, but that's okay. I'm not planning on keeping doing the thrifting. I've been doing the thrifting mostly to get rid of stuff that I have.
I thought you and Cynthia were gonna do Thrift Row.
Yeah, I mean, if we could do it while we're still here in Dallas, I mean, as it is, we're gonna be here for another 6 months possibly. So
Oh, okay.
I was hoping maybe we had 3 months tops, but now we're looking at
Well, does that mean that your life, like your life stressors for the next 6 months, are just going to accumulate where they are? Because that seems to be what's happening.
Yeah, that's kind of it. It's kind of the case. Yeah. But there's
You're okay with it? You're just going to ride it out for 6 months?
I'm just going to ride it out best I can. I mean, that's all I can do. What else can I do? I will say that once I get there, though, my parents have, and just in the shop that they're using right now, they own 2 other buildings, 2 other lots there at downtown. They're right next to it. One of them is like this old building that they were going to fix up. They didn't have the time or the money to get done. I might set it up as a small studio, and kind of try to use it like you do it like a mini version of my open source studio thing or something, not really for open to the public, but just like to do like podcast interviews and stuff like that. I might be able to set that up, and because I have all the lights and everything, and I have a green screen and all that stuff, and so I might be able to use that as like a little green screen studio and do some cool stuff there, maybe in the.
Well, would you? Because you're not going to be able to be creative for the next 6 months. It sounds like, but if you go to Texarkana, is that going to free you up to be creative again? Or are you going to have enough stability?
I'm going to force myself. I mean, I'm going to try to be creative during these next 6 months anyway, but it's hard for me. It's just really hard to focus. Right? It's not really the next 6 months. The waiting part isn't what's going to keep me from being creative. It's getting all the house stuff done and all of the pressure of like getting all this stuff like into like. Because like anytime I'm cleaning up or packing stuff, like I fall over and I hurt myself quite often and stuff like that. So
right. I don't think you should try to do that. You've broken 2 ribs. You've lost 3 or 4 teeth. I don't like. Why would you keep putting yourself in these risky situations and damaging your body, your physical health?
There's no one else to do it.
Except for me.
Can it not get done until someone's able to do it?
Nope, it has to be done. I mean, we have to. My sister who has been watching Juniper, like she's just found out she's pregnant again, so she doesn't have the energy to deal with Juniper right now. So we have to go get her during this few days, and so I have to get like a place for her ready because like everything is in a more disastrous state than it was when we took her down in the first place. Because I've been trying to like tear stuff up so I can put it back together, and Yeah, it's okay though. I mean, despite all that, I'm actually in fairly positive spirits. Weirdly enough, I don't know why.
Well, it did earlier. It didn't sound like you were. So maybe the YouTube therapy is working.
It does. It does.
Let's
Just
see how
talking
good
about
it is. Mental health professionals, come and study this. You can watch
talking about
it
it makes
happen
me
live. Watch it work.
talking about it makes me feel better. It does. It always does. I mean,
Yeah,
I can talking about
I
somebody that
am
actually
one
listens.
of the biggest advocates of the effect of healthy community and interpersonal interaction on mental
Like
health.
my interactions and my conversations I have on our stream have been more mentally beneficial to me than any of the years or any of the therapists I went to for however long I went to any of them. I've went to 3 different therapists, and I can't say I ever got much benefit out of any one of those therapists. But
Wow.
I
So-
I don't know. I don't get a lot of for some reason I don't get a lot of benefit out of. I know a lot of people get a benefit out of like the therapy thing whenever they're not directly connected to, like, they don't know the therapist, they don't have a personal relationship with them. I do much better when I have a personal relationship with the people I'm talking to.
what they're supposed to build, like that's part of the beginnings of therapy, is building that. Like you'll spend the first 6 months, maybe even year or so, building that with the therapist.
I most the therapist, like the 3 therapists I've ever seen, they were very like their approach was very much like, like, was to keep it strictly professional about everything. I didn't know anything about them. Like they
Yeah, I don't go to those kind.
Yeah,
I go to the kind that
I've
can
never been to any other
meet me
kind.
on my level where I am.
Yeah, I've never been to any other kind.
And
There's only
can
had a
be
therapist.
like peer and have it be mutual, because they are a lot of therapists are taught that they're supposed to maintain this like professional distance because it for objectivity or supposed or alleged objectivity. It
Jeff,
contributes to the impression, at least, of objectivity. And
Jeff, you should
in
switch the
peer
orientation.
support, where it's an equal relation and it's mutual. It's like, because you're both going through the same thing. So as you talk and share stories and process, you're both helping each other. So it's more like a lateral relationship. And it the profession, the therapist relationship is not supposed to be power differential. Like they go out of their way to make it not feel like a power differential, but they have to maintain kind of this separation or distance at the same time. And if they're not good at that or don't know how to do that, then a lot of them come off like you described.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I've always done really well with like just having conversations with friends. Period. Conversations with friends. Period. Have always done me a lot more good than therapy.
Oh,
ever
me
did.
too. Growing up, that's all I needed. Growing up was like a friend to call, or go
just someone to
across the
talk to.
street to my grandma. As long as there was like one person that could sit there and let me vent and help me process, I was fine. That's all I needed.
Yeah. You should change the orientation of our windows where I'm below you, because like I keep looking up, so it looks like a Brady Bunch then.
How do you? Is there a way to do that?
I think one of the options on there is have them stacked one on top of each other. I think there was last time I was in, like, maybe not.
They have it when there's more than 2 people, but I don't see one.
It's only when there's only 2 people. Okay, never mind then. I thought there was a way to switch it where it was like where I was underneath you. I was gonna say like that way it would look less weird that I was looking up all the time. It would look like it would look on the screen like
I don't even notice it, so it doesn't look. You're more self-conscious about it than the audience.
Oh, I know. I just thought it'd be funny, man. I wasn't really being that self-conscious about it. I just thought it would be funny. I was just thinking of the Brady Bunch thing. That's all. What a terrible show that was.
Oh, I love the Brady Bunch, especially the movies.
But the movies
Buffalo
are totally
was great. I had buffalo burgers. They were excellent. Some of the best burgers.
Buffalo and elk, bison, all good. I've never had moose. I've had kangaroo though. We have a place here called what's that place called, Lindsay? Twisted Root Burger. And they have, I don't know if they still do it, but they used to have a game burger of the month, and they'd have some weird exotic game type meat. And one month it was kangaroo, and we were like, okay, fuck it, we're gonna eat kangaroo. Like, I mean, Not like I'm not. I didn't kill the kangaroo. The kangaroo's already dead. It's in their freezer, so I'm going to go and eat it.
Probably gonna kill
And
you.
what's that?
They're probably gonna kill you.
No, it was fine. It just
Have you
tasted
seen
like.
those things are scary? Have you seen the videos? The
Oh no, they
YouTube
are. They're terrifying if you have to see them in person. But these were pre-dead.
Oh.
They were dead before I got there. They didn't kill the kangaroo.
Well, yeah, yeah, I'm sure they were. Like, did they have kangaroos out back? Did they?
You didn't go in there like, which kangaroo do you want to eat? And then they put a gun to their head and they'd be like, bang.
Well, Frank, you're in the middle of a good kangaroo recipe if you're interested in that.
No, kangaroos are terrifying. Their feet, like, man, like it's just like it's so bizarre. Like there's so many videos on YouTube too of like
yeah, like when they try to
Australians-
break people's house, like they go to their windows.
Yeah.
They-
Or just like there's out in like some Australian has like is in a cul-de-sac in like a suburban neighborhood, and in the middle of the cul-de-sac there's two kangaroos that are just like beating the shit out of each other, and you're just like, and can you imagine just going outside to go to work one morning and there's just two kangaroos just beating the shit out of each other? That would just be like I wouldn't know how to deal with that. Ostrich is amazing. Ostrich is actually one of the best tasting meats I've ever had. The only time I ever had it was at used to be a music festival I used to go to when I was a kid called Cornerstone, and there was a guy that had a booth there every year I went that sold only ostrich burgers. The only thing he sold, and nothing else tastes like ostrich. It says it tastes like chicken. It doesn't taste like pork. It's not one of those meats that tastes like other meat. It tastes like ostrich, and it's so good. And man, but you can't get it barely anywhere. It's a really rare meat to find. It's really, really good. I knew people that raised ostriches too, but they didn't raise them for the meat. I think they raised them for the eggs. They raise them because they have really huge eggs, and like so they sold the ostrich eggs. Like you can make really big omelets out of them or something like that. But yeah, and ostriches are also very dangerous. They will fucking kick your ass. You know, like one of the most dangerous animals in the world. One of the animals besides rhinos that kill more people. What?
Emu.
No, it's not even that. The cassowary.
Oh yeah, the cassowary is the most
Yeah.
dangerous. Like not only is the dangerous bird, one of the most dangerous animals, and the hippo.
Yeah, the hippo is the number one most humans killed per animal of any other. I think the cassowary is like number 2 or 3. And cassowaries, they're not even that intimidating looking. You look at them, you wouldn't think that bird could fuck you up like that, but they have razor sharp claws and they're extremely aggressive, and they will come at your fucking throat and just slit your throat like instantly. And yeah, it's one of those weird facts like I picked up from.
I don't fuck with I learned as a kid, don't fuck with wildlife.
Yeah, I never fuck with wildlife.
Have you had kangaroo, Steve? Hi, by the way. I was thinking about you the other day, but I forgot about what. I think it was probably the free will conversation, which I think Dennis and I made a little bit of progress on. Of course, he'll deny it, and then
is it Twisted Root Burger, Steve? Is it Twisted Root? Because I think they have restaurants all over the freaking country. Because that's what Twisted Root Burger does. They sell a monthly exotic burger every month.
They have elk burgers too.
Well, whatever happens, Frank. None of us.
Yeah, it does, man. Ostrich just tastes different. I don't know what it is. I've tried to figure out like what it is. Like I've tried to identify that flavor, but man, I ate every day at that festival. I would eat an ostrich burger for lunch, and I'd have a gyro for dinner because they had gyros that were all lamb. They weren't like the lamb beef mixture thing. They had like all lamb gyros, and they had ostrich burgers. So every day, that's what I ate. Every day I was there. I ate an ostrich for lunch and a gyro for dinner, and they were the fucking shit, man. I miss those. I really wish that music festival still existed, even though it was like it was a quote unquote Christian music festival. It was a great vibe there. It was like a 5 to 6 day thing. You went and camped out there. There were shows all over the place the whole day. you could go to at any point in the day. You had like 12 shows to choose from.
I want to go so bad now to a
Oh,
Christian.
it was fun,
music
dude. It was so fun.
I want to wear my horns.
We should go to eating.
Dude, and people and there were I've had people that were Satanists there. Like there were tons of people like that were like of different faiths and different like things. People didn't. I mean, like some of the bands that we had, dude. Like the bands back then from that were part of the.
I'm not gonna know any of them.
Hmm?
I'm not gonna.
You're not gonna hear it. No, you wouldn't have heard of them. But some of the bands they had,
Right.
they weren't even like they were like they had some really hardcore bands. Like they had some bands that were literally like on the same level as like anything like 9 Inch Nails and Marilyn Manson and everything that was.
Oh, Flo, I'm supposed to tell you from Vladimir Putin. Let me see. I guess we're passing on messages here. I'm also secretary at Grand Central Station. Let me find his message. If Flo Taylor's here, I'll put it. There you go. So I passed it on.
Flo
Okay.
Taylor? Why is it Flo Taylor?
That's
Taylor's my Taylor is my brother-in-law's last name. Like my so part of my family are Taylors.
Were we
What
talking about
happened where?
all the different animals we've eaten? Oh, he got blocked. Yeah, you've been kind of block heavy or censor heavy, or was that Talcott? I don't know. I keep hearing little people.
I don't know. I haven't gone on another
getting
panel.
timed out and blocked, and this person did this, and
I haven't gone on another panel in a long.
I don't know. Let's explore it. Oh, wow! That's not cool.
I'm sorry,
Was it
dude.
on a
I wasn't
stream?
trying. I assumed it was the last name. I didn't think about it being a first name.
I haven't blasted any. They took me hunting once. My stepdad did, and I hated it so much. They never tried. They never tried that on me again. I fell asleep in the duck blind. It was so boring. We had to wake up like
I
3
understand
or
why
4
you
in
did
the
that,
morning.
Flo, because like anybody doing that kind of shit is it's too childish to be a part of one of these chats. It's like it's completely understandable.
Oh yes, he does have a thing with the. Oh, I remember now because I told him he came here and we talked about it. He does have a thing with the N-word, and I said, but I see Flo's side of it. I can't blame him for not wanting that in his associated with his channel.
There goes Frank.
Franklinton. The snippet. Yeah, I remember now the end scandal. It got lost in all the other panel scandals and drama that were flowing through every 5 minutes lately.
Yeah, I saw a movie not that long ago that had a lot of boobs in it, Flo. That I mean Frank. That maybe you should check it out. I don't know. It wasn't really that great, but it had a lot of boobs in it. So it's the most boobs I've seen in a movie in a long time.
You want to tell them what the title is?
Oh yeah, it's Poor Things. The movie.
Right.
Emma Stone. Yeah. Yeah. She is naked a lot in that movie.
It wasn't much of a scandal after all. It was Vladimir testing the limits of Flo's tolerance of speech, and he came out on the losing end. He poked the bear in his own lair.
Poked the bear in his own lair.
He's feeling a certain type of way about it.
Poet, and he didn't know it.
Yeah. Like I just assume people know that when they go on these streams that they're at the mercy of who's ever stream. Like there's not any kind of universal code of practice or etiquette that they can rely on. And so the very minimal thing to do, to me, intelligence wise, is not irritate the host to the point where they don't want you on the stream anymore or in the comments. Except then I go on these panels and I watch people irritate the host all the time and get center stage as a reward for it. They keep getting backstage and brought back on, and backstage and brought, and then spotlighted and given a whole hour to go back and forth with the host. So I don't know. It's like quantum mechanics. Everything works upside down and opposite on the Panelverse. It's like through the rabbit hole.
Yeah, Anti-Dearest, I was whenever I was in the mall like a couple weeks back when I was streaming from the mall, we went in the beef jerky store there, and they had all the gamey beef jerkies thing. They had everything from kangaroo to bison to like anything you can imagine, pretty much. Like I mean, they didn't have like koala or anything, but they had all kinds of crazy beef jerkies that you could get. But honestly, once it's been turned into jerky, it doesn't taste much different.
Fish jerky too.
Well,
Our
fish
neighbor
jerky-
used to make deer jerky in his backyard.
Yeah, deer jerky's all right.
No, Bex is a real person. Yeah, it's like stock account. It's people that get banned or something, and they have other accounts they can come on under. Joe, were you around for AOL back in the AOL days? That's what we had them there too. I forgot what we called them, but people had multiple accounts. We might have called them socks at that time.
Yeah, we call them socks back then. Sock puppets.
I have like a main account.
Dude, yeah, ICQ.
For this,
dude,
it's so much easier to just keep up with one account. I can't imagine having multiple accounts to keep switching between just to watch streams and interact in comments.
ICQ. I was on ICQ like hardcore, man. I used to like ICQ was my social media. Like you could go on there and you could just hit to chat to random people. So I used to meet people all the time, like on ICQ. That I had pretty long standing like internet friendships with like for a long time until like ICQ kind of died, and then we didn't have any. I didn't have because I never knew them beyond like just being like an ICQ screen name. So when ICQ kind of stopped working, like I lost contact with all those people. But I used to have a ton of ICQ friends.
Yep, I remember those days.
ICQ was a damn good messaging app. It kicked AIM's ass when it came to like actual like the different ways you could customize it, the way you could like share music through it, you could share files, you do all sorts of stuff with that thing. Man. I had people like introduce me to bands that like I still listen to this day through ICQ. I met all sorts of interesting people.
Hey Sean, I'm assuming this is Sean from Ireland.
Hey, Sean.
If it's not, please don't porn.
So,
okay, well.
Please don't porn bomb me.
Why have you? Did you get porn bomb before?
Just once,
yes.
But that was enough to make me paranoid enough to be more aggressive in my screen.
Yeah, I don't have the camera on now. I'm in my room.
Yeah,
I was interested. I was interested in the conversation there about meat and animal agriculture. I think animal agriculture is quite, well, the factory farming stuff now is quite controversial. I'm more involved with environmental side effects of animal agriculture. They're quite big. So that's why I try to eat less meat for the environmental reasons. Like, there's only like 4% of biomass, like wildlife left that is wild animals. Everything else is just farmed animals and humans. So if we keep at it, if the Chinese and the Indians start eating as much meat as the West does, there won't be enough land, and wildlife is going to be disappearing more if the Chinese and the Africans and eat as much meat as we do, basically. Basically, a plant-based diet uses way less land than animal agriculture. And I'm a beekeeper. My father's a beekeeper.
I keep coming down to the India and China thing. Like, why am I going to give up my steak fajitas if India and China is not going to do anything about climate change, like what are my efforts are not going to have enough of an effect to make it worth giving up the enjoyment of the meat. I think I know who
I
you are.
understand, but
Oh yeah, that's what I thought. All right, welcome. We have S and B or BS.
Who is
Yeah.
Get Out?
Oh,
Who are you? Get Out?
That's
um,
Lanza.
yeah.
Oh, it's Lanza. Okay. Why do you change your name every day, dude? It's confusing.
Speaking
I
of,
think it's interesting.
yeah, that's how I took it. It's creative.
I think you can get more ideas across that way, and it's really not about me. Like it's just kind of about whatever you get, or like communication to be a two-way street. You have to understand what what the lesson is. So I guess today it's get out. Like outside, get outside, get outside the box.
do you want me to get
I'm
out?
waiting for it to be spring, and
I've been outside a bunch today. I've been taking trash outside, so I've been outside a lot today. I haven't touched grass, but I've touched trash. Does that make a difference?
Yeah, I think it does, like a lot of ways. Mostly, I would say in the transference or electrical, I don't know, conductivity benefit missing out by touching trash instead of being on grass. Chris, you get a haircut, bro?
No, I got a hat on, dude. My hair is just as crazy as it normally is.
You look like you're coaching a little league team. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
It's not an insult to me. I mean,
I know it isn't.
well, go get your
Actually,
coffee.
it would actually be a good. Like, I wish I was coaching some teams. Why not?
I wear these hats because when I'm working, they absorb sweat really well and they keep the sweat off my brow. So that's why I wear these hats a lot of times when I'm working. They actually do keep your head cold. They're whether climate cool or whatever, climate cool Adidas hats. I used to wear them all the time at Amazon because like it was like the best possible hat you could wear for like keeping sweat out of your eyes. You sweat your ass off. So I just use it when I'm working.
I just wear like 6 sweatbands that I knitted together. No.
I tried the sweatband thing for a while too. I used to have some. I don't know what happened to them. I had a couple of Adidas sweatbands and a couple other things like that I had but they never worked as well for me.
I don't know what a sweatband. Oh, you mean? Oh, no, that sweatbands are like 90-degree and over days. Or if you're at the gym, mostly playing basketball, I would say.
I had some that were really specifically like very 80s. I found some ones at a.
They didn't have sweatbands in the 80s. They didn't even know about dinosaurs back then, dude.
What bands in the 80s?
Sweatbands, like headbands.
Oh yeah, they did. They had sweatbands, leg warmers, wristbands.
Yeah.
Wait, they didn't know about
You
dinosaurs
guys
in the
had
80s?
swish. You guys had swish pants, right? Like swish pants.
Squish
like the ones where you walk and it goes swish, swish, swish.
Corduroy.
Oh, like the like the.
Yeah, it's like a raincoat pant. It's like they're like raincoat pants.
Parachute pants. Like hammer pants. Hammer time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was like.
I always hated those. I never wore a pair of them. I didn't
have a pair.
Dude, well, you weren't getting the benefit of the walk that you. The options you've just been limiting yourself. What about the pump up shoes?
I had those.
I was too poor to get pump up shoes. Okay, I didn't. My parents weren't rich enough.
I
those.
drew. I
didn't have any of the training stuff when I was a kid in the 80s.
Our panel killer is here, guys.
I went to a quarter.
I had one hypercolor shirt, and it stopped working after 3 washes.
I
remember hypercolor. I want one now.
I went to a grocery store. They had these toys for sale, and one was a basketball. I cut it in half, and I like glued it on my shoes. And and I also put like baseball cards on the back of my shoes, so when I walked, it made a lot of noise. See, I have to build trust with people so that they allow me to have this time to kind of act stupid, but like in
Funny,
good fun.
hey, that's
Say you
just
act
plain funny
stupid with
shit, dude. You don't
strangers
have to
plenty
build
of
up my
time.
trust like for me to get that joke. That's just a good joke.
Wait, is that the
Well,
liberal
No,
from
no,
last
Lily,
time?
That appears to be what we do here: is build some kind of weird trust.
Is Get Out the liberal from
Is
2 days
what?
ago?
No, man, I don't even know how to spell liberal. I was voted second least brainwashed in school.
All right.
Who is first?
Yeah, religious. We kind of talked about this the other day with Den. I'll let you frame it, Steve. Religious attachment to religious experience.
No, just the different experiences people have between, you know, that communal feeling with God and what is the alternative that atheists feel.
The rock concert, and
Smugness,
rave,
mostly.
and the Burning Man.
Communal feelings with
They get
nature.
communally smug.
Oh, with nature. I
Are
think
you
with,
Christian?
Yeah, I think it
Christians
comes
are
from
weird.
I get that. Anytime I'm out hiking or camp, that's so
Yeah.
to me so easy to get.
I just think it comes from like I think
Maybe
the
not.
separation. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, dude.
Well, I thought it was an interesting question. I think it's the separation of to experience that separation is to. It means a couple things. I would say one, biologically, it means that your cardiovascular system is being misused currently, and then also it would have to do with stress, which would indicate things that would happen in a body, which we could say are electrical, or you could go any way, but mostly it's breath. And I forgot the question.
Are you talking about God?
So what I meant by that is, you know, you have people that have these religious experiences with God, right? What's the atheist alternative? And for me, being an atheist, it's communion with nature.
Yeah.
Are there any Christians here? We're all
Nature's
atheists.
one of them for me. I can understand that. For
Yeah,
sure.
are we all atheists here?
There's a
Chris
spirituality
is
out in
Chris is
nature,
religious
the right
to some degree.
nature.
Like smoking herb is a communion with nature.
Psychedelics was another thing I was going to offer, and for me, it's nature for
Jen,
sure. It's
Jeff. Just so you know, like a really good term. People do say psychedelics, and I guess I don't know what that term means to most people, but a really good term to use if you've never heard of it is called excuse me, entheogen.
Yeah, entheogens.
Yeah,
it just
it makes me sound smarter.
Like larger currents. Oh, I don't.
I just thought of the dumbest like joke, like that should have been like a joke book when I was growing up, and it definitely wasn't. But I just thought of the dumbest stupid joke that I don't know why.
I'm ready for the dumbest stupid joke now.
Yeah, you guys are gonna love / hate this. This is like truly one of the worst things that ever come to my head.
No, I don't want to hear it then. If it's the worst thing ever, bro, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, no, it deserves.
Because you said the one thing about the dogwood tree the other day, I was like, dude, like I might. Like,
that's true.
I downgraded your comedy a little bit.
All right, say the joke so we can finish talking about God.
Why did some of the founding fathers think that Christians shouldn't go fishing?
Because they were Whigs and they were Wiggers.
No, because they believed in the separation of church and bait.
Oh my God, that was not worth. I should get my stream struck.
I don't know, man. There's something weird about that.
Let's get back to God. I, as a Satanist, would love to get back to talking about.
I wouldn't close with that one. That's a good. That's a possible, work on that one a little bit, because there was like a philosophical, I don't know what philosophical comedy clubs you're going to, but
I don't go to comedy clubs. I'm not a stand-up. I said it was a terrible, like a joke book.
Okay. Well, we heard it. You shared it, so thank you for that.
And it was what? One more time, just so I remember.
I shouldn't repeat it. It's
yeah, I already forgot it too. It
was why did some of the founding fathers believe that?
You don't have to repeat it. It was.
I actually wanted to hear it. That's the funny part.
Dude, you're supposed to be my partner. We're trying to grow this stream. Why are you doing this? You are
Because
the
people
mole.
will show up
sir.
for the dad jokes, man. They might
People
come to the
just reward-
conversation.
BDSM, sex, like that subspace, that energy that gets raised. That's another like really high spiritual like feeling of power and great art, like really great
would agree with that,
literature,
yeah.
Mozart symphony, that type of thing. That's another source. I think that an atheist could, like an atheist analog for religious experience.
Yeah, I want to remove kind of psychedelics from the conversation because that physically alters the brain state.
It does, but it's still a definition because either side has to define that that's what it was that they could describe the difference of. So they have to define it no matter what.
Well,
whether they tell you it's defined by them or not.
What is art? One is artificially changing the literal brain chemicals. So I'm talking about just as a state of natural being.
What about a state of natural being? Like what? Like you're identifying as like
what
your
are the
organs or something?
Experiences that an atheist.
What are the natural experiences?
Yeah, that an atheist might experience that would substitute or take the place for a religious experience in a religious person's lives.
It's a misuse of I don't know. Hold on. Do you mind posing it again?
Yeah, if I can. So what would take the place of religious experience as an experience of being in the presence of God, so to speak? What would be the similar experience to, say, an atheist?
Okay.
Well,
how would they experience that higher communication?
It's a response to
their world,
power, the experience of power. So anything that you experience is incredibly powerful for you, like nature.
So
he's saying
the only time I ever felt close to God was in nature. That's the only time I felt close to God.
Makes I've had that.
Well, I would say family.
Atheist, I changed that.
I would say society really isn't too.
But what
I think society is kind of farther away. Yeah, for sure.
Hey, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, Sean.
So I would do this in the chat, but it's just so clumsy. I'm a terrible typer. Steve, could you elaborate on the nature piece? I'm really curious about that from an atheistic perspective. I think it's really interesting.
The nature of what? I'm sorry?
So you mentioned that you felt you were replacing a theistic experience when you're in nature. That would be your way of experiencing something that a theist might define as spiritual. Is that an accurate rendition of what you said?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I would say so. It's yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about it, like specifically how that was?
Yeah, I think it's one of those situations where I think the two feelings have a mutual relationship with one another when you're talking about a connection with something greater than oneself. And when I'm in nature and I can interact with it and I can see it, and let's say I'm fishing and my feet are in the water, I can feel the water, I can feel the breeze around my neck, I can smell the smells, those kind of things. It's just it's a larger connection to the world around me on a very base level where everything is as pure as it will ever be in that moment.
Yeah, so I'll share a little story with you guys. So I used to be a survival instructor. We used to do instructing for the local police force and our armed forces. And one of the tasks we used to have them do was go out with nothing. Like they had to, start fire with no matches and all the rest of it.
Yeah, I've done that.
It was amazing to watch exactly what you're talking about, Steve, how ego and whatever we constructed around one another fell away so quickly. Like we're talking within a night, and a real sense of, hey, man, I'm really nothing. And when I compare what I have and what I bring to the table, I'd better play by the rules of nature. There's terror in that, but also a great freedom. And people always left that feeling a lot more empowered. So that's what I wondered, if you were kind of referring to something similar as the experience that I had. That was my question.
Something similar to that, only I will change it or modify it slightly. It's not that I'm nothing, it's that I'm part of something that is much larger.
You have to define it as like what I was saying is like Okay, you were saying though. Sorry, my bad.
So you're feeling a connect rather than sensing something larger than yourself. You're sensing something larger than yourself, but a connectedness as well.
Yes.
Okay, I get it. That was it.
I
That was my.
never.
Okay.
I was.
Yeah.
I was
The
a
big
Catholic. I
question.
never really got much spiritual highness. Maybe I did a bit when I was praying, but I never really got really high off religion. I was a Catholic, doing the rosary and
Yeah.
all that stuff. Well, were you Christian before?
Yeah, I was Christian before. I just barely became an atheist about 3 or 4 years ago. But
Did
I've
you
always
get
been.
like really nice time being Christian, like high off it,
No.
praying and stuff?
No, I was a very shitty Christian. I left my church when I was very young, about 16, and I had always remained somewhat religiously agnostic. But it wasn't until I started really kind of diving into it a little bit more that I was just like, this is full of shit. To me, it was full of shit. And then I started making movements towards being an atheist, and then finally I came out as being an atheist, so to speak, about 3 or 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago.
What church were
Somewhere
you in,
around there.
Steve?
I'm sorry?
What church were you in when you were attending?
I was raised LDS. I was
Okay,
raised
yeah,
Mormon.
yeah.
But
I've had some good
half of
friends.
my family was Catholic. So
What did you find that you disagreed with? Where you were like, yeah, these things 1, 2, or 3 here, these are just undoable, or whatever.
there was more than I can list here, but honestly, it was
Was it hypocrisy?
the hypocrisy was probably the biggest aspect of it. Then on
Okay.
top of that, it was
And that's
just
something you
the
witnessed, which people do witness. I understand.
yeah, the historical inaccuracies, and I'm just talking about the Bible here. I'm not even talking about the Book of Mormon, because the Book of Mormon is so deeply fucking flawed that I don't know how anybody can ignore the inconsistencies in that. Like, for example, there were no fucking horses on the North American continent prior to the Europeans coming. But it was majoritively, it's like, the thing that always caught me was that God is all good. He's omniscient, he's omnipresent, he's all knowing, all these things. And it's just like, the more you think about that in the context of religion, it's like, first and foremost, okay, actually I've got a better,
See, I'll give you
perspective
this.
here.
I'm following you so far. Like, I'm trying to actually follow very intently. I'm just saying what I'm hearing so far is it is actually, it seems very hard to attain certain whatever. And then if you see people in those positions and they are hypocrites, it is a definite sign that something's wrong. Not necessarily. Yeah.
I didn't make the mistake of judging churches or faiths based off of its practitioners. I still think that most faiths, and I say most faiths because there's a few that I don't agree with, but most faiths have this really great concept of community, of family. That's one thing the LDS Church does really well, is they're highly focused on family.
A lot of churches, that's my one thing with churches, is like, you really can't take that away. Like the family services that they provide are like,
oh yeah,
like you actually want people like that, like to do that, like, yeah.
So Steve, I have another question for you, if you don't mind. I'll try and, I always find words blunt tools for questions like this. So you modify the question any way you want when you answer it. So when you decided, when you came to that decision, I'm coming out as atheist. Since then, if you had to say from a emotional standpoint, from a fulfillment standpoint, do you feel better than when you were participating in the religion?
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
How come?
So, to answer the other person's question, I can't remember who asked me, but and then I'll get to yours, old man. But the biggest flaw that I saw in faith-based organizations, especially where I live, is this idea that God is capable of doing anything except for something, which is to say, in my church that I grew up in, we had baptisms for the dead. Right. That means you can be baptized after you die.
That's actually kind of fire.
Room. Yeah, you
Oh,
actually.
I've never heard that idea. I've never
Yeah,
considered that.
look into it.
Thank
It's
you for
fucking
telling me
creepy.
something I have never considered.
And I was just like, so why does God need human beings on this plane to do something that he's capable of snapping his fingers with up there, where the people already have an experience of the afterlife and a verification that God is real, right? Why would they need to be baptized? That makes no fucking sense.
Well,
Well, baptized
agree with
means-
that. I agree with that completely. But like, why judge the concept of something divine based on like the stupidity of his followers or his supposed followers like have invented to?
Well, no, this is church doctrine, dude. This is deep in church doctrine.
I know it is. I understand that, but I'm saying, but
Yep.
like, church doctrine isn't the word of God per se. You know, it's like it's.
It is. In this case, it is. For
And the
LDS
Mormons, you
Christians.
mean? They consider their doctrine.
Wait,
Yeah.
what did they do again? They did something weird. I can't remember what it was.
Baptisms
this-
for the dead. We
Oh,
literally
yeah, that's weird.
baptisms for the dead. We
And so-
have actually baptized Holocaust victims.
Okay, so
Church
where
caught
did this?
shit for.
The LDS does that?
Yeah.
How come I never heard of that till now?
There's a lot of things
The
about the
Mormons.
LDS Church you haven't heard of.
No,
With the
there's a
baptizing
lot
of
that I think. Yeah, you're right. Like that
Yeah,
one.
they have one of the like most
can't run into
extensive
people who are like, "Oh, yeah, I know that."
databases. If you're trying to find your family tree and you're willing to share your information with them, they will give you access to all of their genealogy stuff.
Bro, how did
Yeah.
how did they get the dead body and then how do they put it in the
They
water?
research.
Yes.
No,
So-
they
so-
don't.
so
It's
could
the
I jump-
name. They
could I
don't go
jump in
find
here?
the bodies. They
Could I jump
do
in
the
here if I
name.
could? Because this is how we get off into the weeds from the original question, which I think was really important, which was
Thank you.
Thank
how
you.
how do theists replace the religious experience? This is a direct question
Yeah.
I'm asking, and there's a
I
bunch
wanted
of
to
stuff
answer
in
Old Man's
LDS
question.
church. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
that's
your
what I'm
question
asking
was-
is if you feel better afterwards,
I
then
do.
why?
And it's strange because as soon as I really kind of embraced atheism, I my whole life changed in certain ways where even life itself was much more valuable to me because I realized there's nothing else after that. So the best way I can explain that is if you take a capitalist view of this situation, right, where scarcity means increased value. Okay. Well, if my life only lasts 80 years tops, right, but you as a faith believing person go to heaven and you live for eternity, right? There's no scarcity in living for eternity. So the person's life who is shorter has, I would say, infinite more value because there's nothing after that. So we need to
Just
cherish
feel
that
it.
far more.
Hell.
So I have a
Did you have
deeper
fear of
respect
hell?
for life than I ever did before.
So let me pose
Also,
a
I have a
question.
better.
Let me pose a question to you. I think that's an excellent point. If you have a limited amount of resources, you're probably going to be more careful with them. Would
Exactly.
you say that a viewpoint like that is limited to a selfish viewpoint when you consider only your own life in that equation, and that perhaps the theist may consider things in a more long-term fashion, more from a more profitable perspective? In other
Well,
words,
for me-
encompassing other people, encompassing
Yeah, so
family.
For me, it helped me become more understanding of other people's flaws. It gave me a more patience with people because I realized that this person is going through their own journey and they have a very limited amount of time to go through this, right? So I've been much more patient with people. On top of that, it gave me personally a deeper love of my own life to the point where I decided to completely switch gears. I started reading more. I started writing more. I became published. I went to school, changed careers. I've had deeper relationships with people, closer relationships with people. My life has nearly infinitely become better since I became an atheist because I took responsibility for my life and in a weird way, I took responsibility for the way that I perceive other people's lives. So
I was going to say that sounded true to me because I was thinking, I'm sitting here. I'm no different than you guys. What I'm dealing with is I know I'm here, right? And I know everything else is there. I know I didn't create it. I know that people are loved and that people have answers, and that realistically nobody can judge other people on this level that we do.
Yeah, and I
So
can relate.
that's kind of it.
I can relate to Steve's explanation. That makes sense to me. I can see how that's a reasonable perspective.
Yeah, there's other aspects too, which is like, you know, anytime you get into faith-based discussions, inevitably it all boils down to you just have to have faith, and that's not a good enough reason for me. Even if your answer is we just don't know, at least that's an honest fucking answer for me.
I agree with that.
You know what I mean?
I agree with that.
But-
That's the reason I'm not part of any church too.
Guys,
Yeah.
there's a
Did the
big
internet
chance.
play a role in your deconversion? Internet, because I think the internet is making loads of atheists.
So yeah, I mean, one of the decisions I made when I became an atheist is I wanted to do more for men's rights and men's advocacy. That's something that I wasn't worried about because I think in some ways religion shortchanges our experiences in the sense that, you know,
So
there's
does science.
some religions, there's some kind of, you know, communal service, absolutely. But, you know, for me, it became different where it was, how would you describe it? It became almost a moral imperative for me to care more about my fellow man because I realized that, you know, there was no God up there actually helping us, and that we needed to help ourselves. And to do that, you have to engage yourself in community. You have to engage yourself in making the world a better place, actively doing so.
Yeah, like
And not
take
just
care of
having
nature and all that.
some faith
environment.
that God is going to help this other person with their problems. No, he's
Steve,
not, because he doesn't exist.
If you were in your, say at an LDS community meeting and the authentic answer, which I agree with you were to say, I don't know, and you were to live that kind of lifestyle within that community, would you be shunned or disregarded, or would there be consequences for you being authentic like that?
There's a possibility that there might be repercussions such as excommunication. There have been numerous members who have been excommunicated for making that exact point, because it brings doubt into the faith. And the LDS Church is very cult-like in its doctrine and its following of the doctrine. So, for example, the guy that, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, but it's called the CES letter. I can't remember the guy's fucking name, but he wrote the CES letter, and he's added to it over the years, and he was excommunicated for asking questions.
Okay, so here's a question, and there's no way you're going to be able to answer this accurately, but I would just like your opinion. That makes me think that there are some people, at least in that church community, whose expressions of faith are inauthentic. They have to be there because of social pressure. What
Right.
percentage of that population do you think is there on an inauthentic basis? They're saying these things just to avoid being excommunicated or shunned by their family.
Man, that would be impossible for me to answer because I'd have to go into other people's heads, and I couldn't do that. But
I get it. That's fair. But did you run into this amongst other people in the church?
Yeah. When I talk to other LDS people who are a little bit more, I would say, grounded, they definitely do have these questions. And to some degree, they ignore those questions because of the strength of their faith. But they still do have those questions. But it's difficult to kind of gain some kind of insight as to how many people actually feel like that. And in some ways, I think those people are kind of living, you know, the fleshed out version of Pascal's wager. So it's difficult for me to really kind of base any kind of you know, statistic. And those of you who aren't aware of Pascal's wager, basically Pascal's wager is it's better to live as if God did exist rather than not exist, because the benefits of living a faithful life will, if God exists, is a net positive, versus if God doesn't exist. So let me rephrase that. If God exists, right, even if you don't believe he does, but if you behave as though he does, you will still gain the rewards of heaven. Just like if someone does believe in God, but if you don't believe in God and God does exist, you will be damned to hell. So it's better to behave as if God exists.
Those
That's
are the
Pascal's wager.
those are the people I feel really sorry for. Right? If somebody holds faith and can slough off questions because they have that much authentic faith, that's one thing.
Right.
But if somebody doesn't and is living a lifestyle knowing that they don't really believe in what they're doing, but they're doing so because of some form of pressure that causes them to act that way, that's
Yeah.
not authentic, I think that's a living hell. I couldn't imagine a worse place
Yeah,
to be.
that, and the pressure
you
the pressure is on the nervous system and the breathing, like I said earlier.
Yeah. So you just pinpointed one of my biggest disagreements with faith, which is, this idea that God, if he exists, gave you all of these tools to question his existence, and then he's going to punish you for it. That seems like an absolute moronic argument, because
But yeah,
the
argue
church's
ultimatum
position
is moronic as well.
it's antithetical to the idea of coming here, giving us these gifts of thought, and to be able to investigate our feelings, to grow as human beings, and then to stifle that as a punishment. On top of that, it's like the argument is, well, you just got to have faith that Christ exists, or that God exists.
And I
then
tell you
if
one thing,
evidence,
and then
of
I will be quiet.
You say that all the time.
I
Go
know
ahead.
I say that like twice a week at least.
Thank you, Lanza. We appreciate that.
I could tell you this, man. I have been lucky enough and blessed enough to have a family lineage that was allowed to be here on Earth or whatever. That I'm just blessed where I'm at. We didn't put the sun up in the sky. Nobody here is that different. But
Hey, Lanza, are you like the rest of us and you have like one of those creepy gay uncles?
just let him finish. Let him finish. What were you saying, Lanza?
I think I was just trying to tell you that. I don't know. I can't remember because we got a fucking straight up retard down here.
Yeah, I get it. So let me make a point, and then
straight ether to the brain.
Yeah. So first of all, whatever you were saying was authentic. Whatever you're saying was authentic and meaningful to you, and I hope you continue your thoughts. So I'll just say one thing, and then maybe you could jump in again after. So it's Steve, right?
I remember what it was.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So when you talk about this threat of punishment if you don't believe, where I can't get away from in my mind is it almost seems like a mafioso type deal. Here, I'm going to offer you a deal you can't refuse. There's a carrot on one end and a really heavy stick on the other. And that, to me, in my opinion, could prevent people from making sound decisions that are rationally thought out.
Right. And that's the argument with a lot of people that are leaving the church over the CES letters, is that they are arguing that the church has removed from them their free agency to decide. And that's a big problem, because it's heavy-handed faith.
Okay.
So what
if
is
you have to have heavy-handed faith,
what,
then it's not a faith.
That's right. So back to the original question that you posted in the chat. Your feeling, your personal lived experience is that you have not lost anything. That when you lost that spiritual connection, for lack of a better word, you haven't lost anything in your life that you haven't replaced with other experiences, such as being out in nature, etc.
Correct. I actually have deeper connections with the world around me now.
Okay, that's all
Have
I
you
need,
heard
guys.
of Pine Creek?
Thanks a lot for
Sorry.
having me up. Thanks a lot for having me up. I'm going to jump down now, okay?
Great questions, old man.
okay.
Great questions.
Thank you.
All right, but Steve, I got a good one for Steve, but if Sean wants to go.
Yeah. Have you heard of Pine Creek? He's like an atheist conservative in YouTube, and he says that some people need religion. They're too weak.
I don't think it's out of weakness. I would argue with him there.
He said
that's a tough one, man.
Right.
That's a really tough one, because that would mean I would have to call someone stupid, and I don't want to do that.
No, but here, let me. You guys can
who-
call me stupid. I got a serious question though. Like,
Sure.
how much faith do I have to have in order to understand that people in my family generationally existed because something else created them and allowed them respectfully to do whatever their relationships were, and then I'm blessed to have this life, and I'm blessed to be around people and the ability to learn. And one of the things that I was lucky enough, man, to like understand one
You are
day.
like the biggest troll.
Shut the fuck up.
Lanza.
One of the
You,
lucky
no,
things I was.
seriously, you are the biggest fucking troll. You pull this shit on every channel you
Shut the
go
fuck
to.
up. So one of the
Talk
biggest
for
fucking things
hours
I
on
ever,
end.
one of the biggest things I ever
Let him
learned
at least finish.
was
Sorry. I
that
yield.
every a good teacher can learn from any one or every one thing.
You said the
Mhm.
same exact fucking thing yesterday.
That's a
on
great
3
thing. It's a
different
great thing to
panels.
say.
Oh, okay. So
it-
like because I had an experience that we're talking about now that I could like relate to it. It's not valid in MoOse's mind because he's a quarter tard.
No, I don't find it
Come on
valid
now.
because you started
Hey,
asking me
no.
questions on another
No,
panel.
dude, you're
and then
being okay. Go ahead,
you were
do your
just
thing.
asking
You
me
haven't talked in a
questions
while,
that's
but when you do talk,
totally
you want to like
bullshit,
shoot my shit down like it doesn't matter. But go ahead.
because that's what you do to other people. You ask
Well,
for
I'm-
questions insincerely, and then you just go about your business.
Okay, so
not
go
even-
ahead and repeat what question I asked that is in question in your mind right now, so we can all assume that you did pay attention properly.
All you have to do is watch Talcott's.
Oh, okay.
All you gotta go.
So
go
you're gonna
back
bring
and
other
watch-
shit in here, bro. See, you're not even a good snake.
It's not even about
Like, I
being
can
a snake.
see,
You're
I
not
can
genuine.
hear it.
You're not
Is a
genuine,
snake,
Lanza. And I'm
and
calling
I
you
think
out.
Lanza is in good faith, and I think he was asking some questions of Steve. And
If you could,
What does
if
that
you
mean?
could,
And if I
I
am,
like
what does that
both
mean
of
for
you.
you to be calling me out on some shit that's some fake shit? Like, you better look at yourself, because as I was saying, any one teacher or any good teacher can learn from every one thing or any one. So it's like,
right.
oh, you could find fault in that, and you're telling me to look at Talcott? Shut the fuck up, dude.
So the
I
best
wasn't
response I
thinking
have for you on that is that I think, in my personal opinion, any great teacher, so to speak, quote unquote teacher or mentor, the best quality that I've seen in any of those individuals who have been just absolutely outstanding is this
Is that they
deep
were
sense of
alive, number
humility.
one, because of some
wait, let him,
forces that they didn't.
let him answer.
Is their deep sense of humility, so they can learn from people that would be, perceptibly beneath them, so to speak. They don't hold their beliefs so rigidly. They're not white knuckling their faith. They can open their heart and be humble and admit when someone has a better belief or a better argument or any of those things. So I would say humility is probably one of the biggest
That's
personal
hard. Do you have any
characteristics that I look
tips
for.
that? Oh, I struggle with that.
I'm good with being humble, but I don't
Like
like
intellectual humility.
Does that answer your question, Lanza?
Dude, that was actually beautiful. Yeah, I didn't expect that to be answered so well, and yeah, thank you very much.
No, I appreciate it.
Did you ever try and deconvert someone? It's quite hard.
No, I actively do not do that. To
Why?
break someone's faith to me is paramount to what I would call an atheist's sin, to be kind of contrite. That to me is one of the cruelest things that you can do to someone. The best thing that you can do is create golden bridges so that you can create more effective dialogue later. So trying to bust someone's faith is like trying to make them not love their wife or not make them love their children. It's the same thing, because that's how important people's faith is to them. So I find it incredibly distasteful to try and do that.
Does that apply to ideology too?
Ideology,
Dude,
I think, is a little
last
bit
thing, I'm
I do
actually
that
gonna
with woke. I try to deconvert.
I'm actually gonna run if you guys don't mind. I just want to say Steve brought up a great point. So did Jeff. And I wanted to say this earlier, but I get chastised every time I have an idea. So, but Steve, communication is it's paramount, dude. And communication happens before words. And there's different forms of communication. And to be able to respect those forms of communication is slightly a higher order than someone who can't. But the role of somebody is to teach while speaking. In not all the time, obviously, but like that is a goal that is like I never got taught that in school. Like they were never like, you know what I mean? Like I had to learn that, which I'm grateful and thankful for many reasons. from my
Let-
lineage down to what's going to happen, you know.
What kind of
Lanza.
communication are you talking about that happens before speech? Are you talking about body language, or are you talking about like which one are you talking about? If you can
Hieroglyphics,
elaborate.
cuneiforms,
Oh,
pictures
okay.
is worth 1,000 words. And we
Yeah.
know that action speaks louder than words. So personally, what I'll put forward is action is actually the ultimate form of care
speech.
in time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they say actions are more powerful than words, you know.
But like also
And-
actions inspire, because when people see you do stuff, and then like for me, for example, thousands of times in my life I saw people do stuff and I was like, wow, that, you know, I'd like to try to, you know, do this or that. It gives you ideas. It gives you belief. That's why they say hesitantly that believing is, or what do they say?
The mustard seed.
Seeing is believing. So if you see someone do something, you're like, oh my God, like, you know, anything you can do, I can do better. So there's like this,
Dude, that's a fantastic point.
and you can't, you know, and so when we make these actions, man, we could talk about it all day, and that's cool. And I get it. There's some like little backs and forth, and everyone's trying to figure everything out. And it's not no one's against everyone else.
No,
you know,
I don't
none
think
of us are against anybody.
And I don't think your ideas always get shot down. I've seen your ideas.
Yeah.
I know, but I talk so
I
much
think you're making
that
a
like,
great point.
there is a percentage that does get.
Yeah,
It's
but that's
okay.
with all.
I mean,
like it
we all
happens
face
to me
it.
too. That happens to Steve. I've shot Steve's ideas down.
So
before.
in terms of communication, though, here's what it is, dude. No matter who you are, how you see things, if you believe or see or have a vision or have any inclination that the bar needs to be raised in any aspect that you decide to put your attention towards.
Yeah.
Number one, dude, the bar is respect.
Yeah.
You cannot expect to progress without taking
That's a
account.
rare emotion.
Dude, I'm telling you, like, if you want to break it down easy as hell, it's literally just respect. And like that means
I
having
envy you and Steve that all of these come easy to you.
So
they don't come easy, bro. Trust me, they don't.
Yeah.
They don't.
There's
But then again, there's praise, not praise, but there's pay homage to the ancestors that came before us, our mentors and our amenders, people that came into our life and taught us things that we would never have known, bro. Like we would never, like I would never know how to like weld and whatever, do all sorts of crazy stuff.
So in leather culture, there's a couple of really amazing.
But real quick, man, the respect for like what was, that you don't have to have. Like, you don't have to have faith that, like, your grandma would make you tapioca pudding at 11 o'clock at night. She did it. Like, it's a memory. Like, you don't have to have faith. Like, all that shit happened, and you got to realize, like, none of us put that sun up in the sky. None of us is making this actual world go round. And what is important is the reason why you're here. That is also important with the family lineage and the mentors and the men. Otherwise, their time would be, you know, quote unquote, like worthless. It's like, well, then call yourself worthless, because without them, we wouldn't be here, and without the sun, they wouldn't be here, and all this shit that happens, like science doesn't have to exist for people to be here.
Yeah. So in leather culture, there's two great sayings, and one of them is well, he left, so I'm hoping he's still listening. But one of them is, "I will always respect those who have indeed walked this path before me." And one of the most profound ones is, "I don't set the example, I am the example." And what that means is I don't go around preaching what I think you should be doing. I'm just going to be me. I'm going to walk in my own footsteps. I am going to walk in my own integrity. And if that's something that you jive with, then cool, we'll be friends and we can learn from one another. And so it's those two things are I believe are two of the most profound and humbling statements that I've ever heard in my time in leather culture.
Yeah, that is one place to look for humility.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You still have to look for it with the right, or I do with the right person. But yeah, I guess that's a path to it.
What were you going to ask, Sean?
I thought you said leather or letter.
Yeah, leather.
Leather.
leather culture. It's a
BDS
subculture of the
subculture.
BDSM community.
I was thinking like, like writing and something, or
No.
I didn't expect that.
No,
Yeah,
leather.
a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't even
our
understand
own
where
paper.
leather culture came from. And so, quick history lesson here. So, there were a lot of men that came back from World War II, a lot of gay men who absolutely loved that culture of camaraderie with other men. And so, they're the ones that started some of the first motorcycle clubs, and they were heavily, heavily, heavily into leather. That's why you have the old cliche, leather-clad bondage daddy as a card in Cards Against Humanity, right? So, that culture still lives on today in some places, and I'm proud to be a member of that subculture, but it's very personal based, meaning you have to hold yourself accountable. You don't hold other people accountable for yourself. You don't hold other people accountable for other people. There's a certain amount of care given to oneself and one's appearance that is beautiful in its own way, because there's nothing more beautiful than someone who takes care of their leather, who takes pride in themselves, and who has a certain code of conduct and a code of ethics that they follow that is universal in a sense. So, like we have tenets that we live by, which is ethics, pride, protocol, honor, respect, and integrity. Those are 6 pillars of what I believe ought to be the pillars of a great leather person. So
This is like a gay religion. This is like a cool gay religion.
It's not religion, and it's not limited to just gay people. No, because I'm bisexual. I'm married to a woman, so functionally I'm straight.
Wait, but you have sex. You have
I
sex.
had sex with my wife.
Oh, but in this culture, are you having sex with each other or something?
No, not necessarily. You can, but it's not rigidly expected. No, I'm one of the very few monogamous couples. Part of a few monogamous couples out there, but yeah,
it's like a club kind of thing.
It's a culture.
I would say
it's a subculture of a culture. But yeah, it's a fascinating culture to be in. And it's not, the BDSM community.
It's kind of dying out, isn't it? Or,
I don't know. It is a little bit. COVID took a huge impact on it, but it's one of the most amazing communities you'll ever be a part of. And it's not what people think it is. It's not about sex at all. It's very little about sex. It's more about like personal investigation. You never get closer to yourself than when someone's beating the shit out of you. So it's
like Fight Club.
A different world.
It's not Fight Club.
I mean, maybe in a sense, but it's not like beating the shit out of people. We're talking about different types of impact play, like flogging or something like that.
Interesting. Wait, so you just dress a certain way and like have the same friends, and do you go motorbikes or something? Or no?
Well, I ride a Harley, yeah. Many of us do, but it's not a prerequisite to being leather folk.
But the original leather subculture did develop.
Yeah, the original subculture they were definitely Harley riders. For example, there's still parts of that subculture indoctrinated into the current biker culture, which is the Hells Angels are infamous for open mouth kissing each other in public. They say it's to freak other people out a little bit, but it was heavily part of gay biker culture. And one of the other aspects of that culture was when a new rider gets a bike, everybody gets just absolutely shit-faced drunk and pisses all over the bike. It's like a baptism for the motorcycle, and it just so happens that that's something that gay men did. So gay leathermen did back then.
Water sports, yeah.
Which
straight people do it too, but there's a lot of things that I guess got visibility in the gay community initially that really apply to everyone.
Yeah.
But it originally got associated strongly with the gay community.
Yeah. Well, something that people don't realize is that a lot of the protocols, one of them was that we don't scare little old ladies. Like we're not
I
out
love
there
it.
trying
I
to
love
scare
old ladies.
people or make people feel uncomfortable. Like that's not what it's about.
Oh, I do
It's
that.
about the person. It's about the individual person, and their journey. So, it was for me. It was incredibly beneficial because I had issues with integrity and honor, and this gave me kind of a roadmap to live the kind of life that I wanted to live. That was full of integrity and honor and respect and how to do it and how to do it effectively. And it changed the way that I communicated with people. It's changed how I hold myself accountable for my own actions and everything. It's been transformative in my personal life.
What was the timeline of your involvement in the leather community? Was this before your conversion to atheism? Probably, huh?
Yeah, it was before my conversion to atheism.
You
I
had
started
kind of
it
a
in 2012.
series of things that you've discovered that have helped you with
Yeah.
your personal growth.
Oh yeah. That was a big one though. Because in that community, people are much more open to talk about their beliefs, their feelings, how they arrived at their destination, so to speak. And, it's a beautiful thing to be able to have intimate moments, especially with other men. It's a beautiful thing to have intimate moments with other men without having to be sexual.
Yeah, it's probably. I mean, I think religion was probably helped by the gays. I mean, the gays love religion, especially Catholic one. I mean, Jesus himself could have been gay. You never know.
It's a possibility. You never know. But yeah, I don't know if I would make that strong of a connection between the two. But I
Jesus.
don't
Well,
have
then
anything to
Trans
disprove it
Jesus,
either.
Black Jesus. We have
Yeah.
autistic
Well, like,
Jesus now. Now
they
we're
all
gonna have
wanted to be-
satanic Jesus.
Paul
We're gonna have
Paul
gay
wanted
leather king
everybody
Jesus.
to be. Paul wanted his followers to be single, so he was probably self-hating gay or something.
Well, who knows?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, I was just curious about how the atheists on the panel, how they experience kind of this sense of communication with the world around them as religious people feel a communication with God. And I was wondering how everybody kind of felt about those two connections, the difference between those two connections. It's something that I don't think atheists really talk about enough, not nearly enough. Most of the time we're accused of being, cold and rigid, and that we don't believe in higher states of being or a connection with anything, and that our morals don't come from anywhere. And it's just it's ridiculous how little the religious community doesn't know about atheists. And obviously there's going to be nihilistic atheists out there, the bad kind of nihilistic atheists, but and the biggest problem that we're having right now is this belief from conservatives that because people are atheists that automatically means we're communists. And it's like, no, that does not fucking square. That absolutely does not square. I've been an avid anti-communist my entire fucking life. My sixth grade world report was on the USSR and the shit that went on there. I read yearly the Gulag Archipelago by Alexander Solzhenitsyn. I've read Gulag by Anne Applebaum, a Pulitzer Prize winning author.
No,
yeah, it's
but
just ridiculous.
I heard that atheists are more progressive. They're more left-leaning atheists.
There's different.
That's what I heard.
Now. It got fragmented.
Yeah, there's a fragmentation between atheist cultures. There are conservative atheists, absolutely. I would put I'm personally a libertarian, so I'm a little bit on the left-leaning side of conservatism. Actually, I would be on the heavily left-leaning side of conservatism, where I'm a firm believer in the Second Amendment, the First Amendment. I'm like a constitutional absolutist in that sense. But in other senses, I am more left-leaning in the sense that I believe that as a prosperous society, we have an obligation to help those who can't help themselves. So social programs, Social Security is one of those things. I believe that universal healthcare is more profitable to society than this capitalist version of healthcare. So there's a lot of things. I think what I have to say is that I'm not constrained to one perspective or another versus someone who is extremely left or extremely right. I can actually pick and choose the things that I believe in with rational thought and say I can support this idea because I believe it's more beneficial. But an absolute socialist society is just as bad as an absolute free market capitalist society. They both have their drastic shortcomings. So, and I believe anybody with any level of intellectual honesty would be able to argue that would be true.
Yeah, I care about climate change in the environment.
Yeah. There's
nature and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a ton of conservatives that are concerned about.
Communists weren't great with the environment neither. So
yeah, I think that moving away from petrol-based transportation would be a net benefit for everybody, so long as we could do it without
more of them, because the Republicans are really anti-climate change.
Yeah, as a platform, yes, they are. But most of the conservatives that I've known in my life, they're very concerned about wildlife preservation because they love hunting, right? They're very concerned about things that both the left and the right could agree on, but because of political,
but the Republicans
bullshit,
probably think
they
that
can't have the conversation.
We're going to lose loads of job money.
Yeah, I think some of their ideas are a little bit misplaced, but I can understand where they come from, but I'm not convinced of their argument because it's not. I don't think they're deep enough. I don't think they're well thought out well enough. I'm also for responsible immigration. I'm not for open borders, so that's something that I share with conservatives. Even though half my family are immigrants, they came here legally.
Yeah, well, I care about it.
Uh-oh. Did I cut out?
We didn't lose Sean there.
Oh, Sean. Sean, looks like we lost you. Or it sounds like we lost you.
Yeah, I don't know if he's on mute or if we just absolutely lost him.
You're here. Oh,
yeah.
I guess we lost him.
That sucks.
Chris, you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay.
There's been some great questions on this panel today.
Yeah, well, that's what I like. Originally, this was supposed to be a philosophy kind of
and it has
channel, and then a mental health channel, and then it turned into this. But I like this kind of mixed variety.
Well, no, I think the channel is doing exactly what it was intended to do. I mean, some of these questions were very philosophical and very, very concerned about the well-being of people, which is, an aspect of philosophy. And we're all men here and talking. And let me just say, Old Man had some fucking phenomenal questions. Fucking phenomenal questions. I would love to see him up here more.
Who, Joe?
His screen name on here was Old Man, so it was probably Old Joe.
That's Joe.
But he had some phenomenal fucking questions, and Lanza had some really phenomenal fucking questions. Really good, open questions, which are the best. You're breaking up there, Sean.
But I want to talk more about the environment. I think this is the most important problem that you're going to have to face in the future.
Your microphone's cutting in and out. I don't know.
Yeah, you might have some bad signal, man.
Sorry about that. But I think conservatives will have to accept that we're going to have a lot of sacrifice. We're going to cut back on our lifestyle, basically.
It's robot-y.
Yeah, Sean, you're still breaking up really bad. We can't even tell what you're saying, man. I just want to take a moment to apologize to everybody that thinks that I ruined these streams.
I
appreciate your input.
I hope you're not letting Frank get into your head.
Don't let Frank get to you. Frank
it's not
said
just
that
Frank. It's a few other people.
Frank tells me I ruin the streams too all the time. So
Frank wants boobs and drama, and if he doesn't get that, then he gripes. I don't even know why.
Never have boobs, so.
Does he ever call in, Frank?
He's not happy with anyone. He's like that princess in the fairy tale that never.
Right now, it's Anti-Dearest who's making the comment that I took over. It's okay. You know, if they have something better to talk about, they can come up here and they can talk.
Yeah, anybody could suggest
Yeah.
topics, and I'm very open, and I'm from New Orleans, and I've been part of the gay leather subculture for a while, so I'm very open about sexuality. I was part of the sex positive nonprofit center up here in Seattle, etc. So
Yeah.
I talk about this kind of stuff without even thinking. I don't even imagine
Well,
it.
they made the comment that what was it? It was atheists feel more comfortable talking about their sexuality. Yeah, probably because we don't have the same negative attachment to sexuality that some religious folk do. It's an important part of being a human being and how we live. And the better that we can make our sex lives, the more happy our relationships are. So
and Joe,
yeah.
this is fine. That's no problem at all. Like I see people do things that make me uncomfortable all the time in the kink community. So don't feel bad about that. I think you're on the right track of managing your own experience here. That's what I encourage everybody to do. Block, leave when you need to, step away, come back, but keep the locus of control on you so that you can be responsible for the quality of the experience you're having here. So I think you're all doing the right thing there.
Yeah. I mean, as long as you support the right of people to do it, I support your right not to have to watch it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But as long as we have the freedom to
If I
express
don't like
who we
what's going on
are.
a panel, I go to another panel or change the
Yeah.
change the
No
channel
one's
or
forcing
go
you to be here, you know.
read a book for a while and come back. And so
Hey, can you guys hear me okay?
yeah.
Yeah, I was just about to beg off, but I heard Steve make a comment about people in the chat saying he ruined the stream. Hey, I want to be really clear. I think you did a fabulous job engaging and authentically. And some of the stuff you were talking about is quite private and personal as well, which leads to a far deeper discussion for all of us. So I want to make sure I'm really clear on that. I don't think you ruined the panel. I think your question was excellent, and I think it triggered a fabulous discussion. So I just wanted to leave on that. I want to leave on that note.
I appreciate that.
Well, thank you, Joe.
Yeah, I hate I hate typing into chat. First of all,
I wish more people would come up and
come up here more frequently, Joe.
So much so. Okay, talk to you later.
Okay, take care.
See
ya. Auntie, I haven't noticed. I mean, I've been around a lot of atheists. I haven't noticed that they're particularly more or less open. Like the atheists I've been around, we didn't really sit and talk about our sex. Like it might just be a me thing, either
Jeff, also
New Orleans
like
Vegas thing or a gay thing or maybe an autism thing, but I don't know if I'm representative of all atheists when it comes to that.
So I think it's important to point out here too, Jeff, is that when we're talking about sexuality on this channel specifically, we're also trying to discuss how men can get more in touch with their sexuality so that our relationships with our partners, including our wives, can be better. Right. So we're making people's lives better by discussing these things. And if it makes you uncomfortable, I'm sorry to hear that. But this channel is predominantly for men and men's mental health. And, you know, a healthy sex life is something that I believe all men have a right to be able to enjoy with their partners or with themselves, however they choose to have it. And so it's important for us to talk about those things. I think there's a time and a place. There's an appropriate time and a place to talk about those things. And being out in the public and being in a restaurant and talking about how much dick you sucked last night is probably not appropriate. So I don't talk about these things when I'm in a restaurant. But when we're on a stream like this that is very male centered, I'm gonna have a conversation about it.
That was probably my fault when I was criticizing religion.
No, it's okay.
I've had to turn off FlowStream, some of the gross shit they talk about on there.
Yeah,
that's just life on the streets, Andy.
Well, and you know, a lot of stuff that men deal with is poor communication when it comes to sex, because, you know, as polite society, so to speak, is taught us that we're not supposed to talk about it. And so there's a lot of this mind reading that goes on in the bedroom, like, you know, our partners are expecting us to know what they want, you know, because we're some kind of mind reader, but we're not. The better intimate relationship that you can have is one where you have a dialectic between you and your spouse, and you're able, or your partner, I should say, and you can talk about these free from any kind of social uncomfortableness between the two of you, and just have a good, honest communication about what are my needs, what are your needs, what are your wants, what are my wants, how can I help fulfill the things that you need. It's so fucking sexy, because what you're doing is you're building a connection, a stronger, deeper connection with the person that you're with. And in my experience, men need more help with that communication. And I think,
But what
women
if men
can
build that
benefit from this
connection in a
too.
different way?
Well, men
Not
do
verbal.
build, yeah, men do build connections in different ways. So, for example, when we have sex, there's different chemicals being released than when women have sex, right? So men get aroused by problem solving, actually. And so when we're trying to figure out how to please the other partner, we're engaged in that problem solving process. And that is what breeds the interpersonal connection with men. Whereas women tend to build a connection through the emotional,
The
physical, emotional,
oxytocin
the
bonding
oxytocin
versus
releases.
the
Yeah. And
vasopressin
for men, it's
bonding.
vasopressin bonding. Vasopressin is the chemical released when men are trying to problem solve. And so when you understand that this is how those two people interact in a sensual or a sexual kind of experience, you start to learn how to build better communication between those two partners. So yeah, I think it's important that we have those kind of conversations.
Interesting.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I'm not gonna stop talking about sex, so
I'm not.
So yeah, y'all are gonna have to take the little breaks.
Yeah.
But why do you think humans had such a fear of sex? I think it's because of men were afraid of other men that wanted to take their wives. So there's a competition there, and that's why religion was invented, to control that stuff.
Well, I think if you're looking at it from an evolutionary perspective, especially evolutionary psychological perspective, it's more beneficial to have one partner who you can build trust with, who you can stand with as a unified front while raising children and trying to survive. Your likelihood of survival is much more increased when you're with someone that you can rely on. So I think a large part of the aspect of monogamous culture comes from that.
Is it? I heard that in Africa they don't have a monogamous culture. Men
some do,
have
some
sex,
don't. Yeah,
but
some
it's
do,
more
some
common
don't.
in it. All right.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to Nigeria, for example, the country is split into 4 sections, where you have Christians on I believe it's the east, or sorry, the Christians are on the west side, Muslims are on so Christians are on the west, Muslims are on the east. You've got academics on the north and entrepreneurs on the south. And so it's weird how their country is divided, but you can talk to Charles Vic Ekikotu from Critical African Thinkers channel here on YouTube. And he's explained it a couple of times in some of his posts, but the Christian culture there is extremely monogamous. But he doesn't know too much about the Islamic culture because he's not Islamic, but or he's not Muslim. But he says, from all intents and purposes, the Christian side of the country is very monogamous. Here in the United States, I mean, we're predominantly a monogamous country. When we're talking about
It's probably going to change when we get more atheists. When we get more atheists, we're probably going to be less marriage and stuff like that.
I don't know. I don't think so, because I'm very monogamous with my wife. I think there's always a drive there to feel new things and experience new things, and I think that's part of human nature. But we translate that feeling into some kind of sexual experience, and that's not necessarily what's needed. As human beings, we're always going to try and experience new things, try and change things up, and live a life full of adventure, so to speak. And some don't, but I think for the majority of human beings, we seek experience, but I don't see any reason why any atheist in particular would say that all atheists should or ought to experience non-monogamy. Monogamy has a lot of great benefits.
I'm monogamous.
I get to trust my wife, and my wife gets to trust me, explicitly, and we get to build a closer relationship, both spiritually, I guess you would say,
Yeah.
communally, and sexually, and
In Ireland
that
we
kind
just
of
had a
stuff.
referendum there that they wanted to change the constitution to not have woman mentioned in the constitution, the rights of woman. They want to take it away to give rights of any woman does not have to stay at home. Basically, they wanted to change the constitution where it can be anyone, like a man, gay person. But people overwhelmingly voted no against that. And Ireland is a liberal country.
Well, I mean, the U.S. is a liberal democracy, so to speak. I mean, we're actually a republic, but we're oftentimes called a liberal democracy. People tend to forget that the creation of the United States was an incredibly, incredibly liberal fucking act. There had never been a fucking republic on this planet like ours, ever. It was the first of its kind. So in that sense, our nation started out as a liberal nation. People tend to forget that. And as far as gender in the Constitution, I think all gender should be removed because the rights of human beings is non-gendered. Everybody gets the same rights and privileges and should have the same rights.
That's how it's interpreted, like through the courts currently.
Well, yeah, and people forget too is that when the Constitution says man, it's referring to mankind, not it's referring to all humankind.
Flow. Liquid just flowed in.
What's up?
I appreciate that, Dahlia. What's up, Flo?
What's up?
Same shit, new day.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just here so Jeff isn't lonely on cam.
Oh, I don't even notice. I'm so used to looking at avatars by now. And Steve's little thing moves when he talks, so it's almost like I'm talking to him.
Yeah, I've just been off camera a little bit more frequently lately. I get to be a little bit more relaxed.
Make us all wonder what you're doing with your hands off cam there.
Yeah, I'm totally doing something with my hands right now.
Well, if our stream inspires that.
It's more fun if you can make eye contact with people while you do it, though.
Shame here.
Yeah. For some people, for some reason, I've had this comment a couple of times. Is like when people look at my stream and they see all the books behind me, they automatically expect me to be some fucking asshole egghead academic, and it's like I am neither of those fucking things. So sometimes
when people see the hat
helpful.
backwards, they assume that I'm some asshole, but a different kind.
Yeah,
and it's true.
You're like the Fred Durst of fucking streams. But yeah,
But the books throw me off more with Flo than they do with Steve.
Why?
Oh, these look more out of place, like more of an anomaly.
Actually,
you fit
this
the
bookshelf
behind
right
you,
here.
You just need
There's
a
no
pipe,
wall here.
a
This is
smoking
just
jacket.
bookshelves that my girlfriend stood up. She's trying to barricade me off from the other half of
Oh,
this room.
it's like a room divider.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't do this to make myself look smart. She did this to like quarantine me.
Yeah, well, she's a
Yeah.
wise woman.
Yeah, I do get that a lot. It's like, oh, Steve the know-it-all. Steve talks too much. I get it.
Well, you call yourself
people are entitled to their opinions.
intellectual.
Well, yeah, and if people understood what that actually meant, they would understand the fucking joke. So if you want me to explain, I will.
If you have to explain it, it's not funny.
Well, is it like shade tree mechanic?
Exactly. So everybody that's been watching this knows that I was a mechanic for almost 30 years. And one thing mechanics cannot fucking stand is the shade tree mechanic that, is fixing people's cars under a fucking tree somewhere and end up fucking it up more than they end up fixing it. Because
that's me.
The whole point of a shade tree mechanic is someone who knows just enough to fuck shit up.
Yeah,
and that's why I named my channel the Shade Tree Intellectuals, because I know just enough to fuck shit up, but I read a lot. So I know a lot of shit, and I know enough to fuck shit up. So that's why I named the channel that. Is it's kind of like a jab at myself, and kind of a jab at myself to make sure that I'm remaining humble as well. So that's.
I thought you were going to say mechanics hate the people that take the number 12 socket.
No, it's number 10.
Oh, number 10. That's right. It's number 10.
Yeah. Every mechanic has several 10mm sockets and several different drive sizes. I've got like 5 in just the 1/4 inch alone. But yeah, I mean, we're talking about a 10 millimeter snap-on flank drive wrench costing $40. You really do not want to fucking lose it.
Talking
Yeah,
about
I don't
mechanics.
have anything snap on. I don't live in that tier of people.
Yeah.
I have an electric car. Well, my mother does. And what do you think of the future of cars and transport? I think it's going to be like mainly like trains, a few electric cars and motorbikes, and then mainly public transport.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll be able to replace all the cars, fuel cars with electric. It's going to be too much resources, and it's going to destroy the planet doing so. What do you think?
What about the less urban areas?
Yeah, I think the U.S. is too
public
big for that.
transportation working in some regions, but not all of them.
Yeah, you'll probably get electric cars. You can get electric cars or public transport, but it's going to be radically the whole transport system. If you want to solve climate change and the biodiversity collapse, the whole transport system is going to have to change.
I think the wisest thing that we could do is shift away from electric cars and move towards hydrogen power cars. That would be the smartest choice. Like really investing in hydrogen technology would be massively more beneficial, because if you look at the amount of emissions that are caused by the production of lithium batteries, it far outweighs the benefits of that vehicle. Like just to create one electric vehicle, it's costing, I think it was like they did the numbers on it, was like 4 times the amount of emissions were created to create that power that car than it would be that car would ever save over its lifetime.
I think the mistake that people make is thinking that we're actually trying to solve the problems we state we're trying to solve.
Yeah, that's an aspect. Yeah, absolutely. Because you're never going to get away from this idea that people desire freedom, and the country is such a huge country. Like I live in a semi-urban area. I live in a city in northern Utah, but I love camping. I want to go take my trailer and I want to go camping and I want to go fishing, right? I want that kind of freedom and that kind of liberty. Where someone who lives in the city might not need that, and so public transportation might be more beneficial for them. But for me, I desire that freedom to be able to leave whenever the fuck I feel like it and go wherever I want. So I don't think we're ever going to get away from that kind of ideal transportation. So
yeah, but I think hydrogen is tricky because it takes energy to make hydrogen. So you'll need a lot more renewables and nuclear. You'll probably, to replace all the fossil fuel in America, you're going to have to build hundreds of new nuclear power plants, thousands of acres of solar, wind, batteries. It's going to take a lot of, it's basically going to be like a World War II effort. If you want to solve climate change, which I'm really passionate about, and biodiversity collapse, because I'm a beekeeper as well, so I understand about insects.
Yeah, so am I. That's cool.
You're gonna have to,
we're beekeepers too.
So you're going to have to do a lot of sacrifices. Americans have the best lifestyle in the world. So you guys are the main contributors to this climate change problem. So you're going to...
China. Look at the numbers.
Sean, you sound like you're from Ireland. Are you from Ireland?
Yes.
Ah, okay. Cool.
No, I'm just saying that if you want to solve climate change, which a lot of conservatives don't, I understand why, but the liberals do. Well, not all of them. You're going to have to do, I think we have to do a lot of sacrifices. I don't think electric cars, all the things that we have, plastic and all that, will be able to be replaced with sustainable stuff like hemp or organic stuff. We'll just have to reduce our material demand, basically.
Yeah.
Which will collapse the economy.
I disagree with Flo. I think there are renewables, but I think
what's a renewable? There's no such thing as a renewable. We can look at I'm in Kansas. We got dilapidated windmills all over this state. Every renewable energy source counts on infrastructure that becomes dilapidated.
And they're not efficient. Solar panels or wind turbines are not efficient.
Yeah, solar panels are getting up there. They're
not.
Really,
they're only
really
20% efficient.
You still have to make the infrastructure and then continue to maintain the infrastructure. You just shift the burden off of one area onto the next. So now instead of burning combustibles, you have technically a renewable energy source, the sun, but you've got all the materials and infrastructure that needs to be upheld to get there. Whereas with coal, all you got to do is dig it out of the ground and light it on fire.
Well, yeah, but even that costs, some kind of infrastructure to be able to be quote unquote renewable. And what I was going to say is, like Sean's right. There's, we need to have a conversation about what we can do to improve the quality of our lives here, especially our planet, because we're kind of reliant on it. And I'm kind of on the middle fence when it comes to the climate change debate. But the one thing I can say is that, would it be better if we treated the planet better? Absolutely. If we were a little bit more responsible with it, yes, absolutely, it would be better. It would be a net benefit for everybody. And on top of that, when we're talking about infrastructure flow, there's jobs in that. So we're also creating that.
Sort of. I mean, I don't see that as a benefit. I don't see it as the government's job to create jobs. I think it's the government's job to clear the way for private enterprise. But I'm not gonna believe anybody's good intentions until I hear somebody saying we should convert plastic trash into fuel. Full stop. That kills 2 environmental birds with 1 stone. The reason nobody says it is because nobody actually gives a fuck about the environment who's promoting these agendas. They just count on people like Sean to get on board with it because it sounds good. And because Sean cares about the environment, but the people running these things, they're not worried about that. They're exploiting the situation.
I mean, you look at wind turbines. Look how many birds they kill. It's phenomenal.
Well, they just don't do shit anymore. I'm in Kansas. You can drive across the state and see 1,000 windmills standing still. And of course, the push is it'll create jobs in maintenance. Well, not really.
Nope.
And honestly, birds are assholes. Who cares, right?
Birds are a conspiracy theory.
Birds aren't real.
I mean,
you guys remember the birds aren't real thing? That was a pretty hilarious.
That's where I'm going with it.
Alfred Hitchcock birds.
No, birdemic birds.
No, but I think that climate change I follow the stuff on X and YouTube and Facebook, and there's serious problem. I mean, Europe right now is like 13 degrees warmer than usual. America, you probably had some weird weather, didn't you, this year?
There's always weird weather.
But it's probably never normal.
Depends which way the wind's blowing.
Yeah, it's windy as shit right now.
I have literally in Texas, I have literally gone outside and under a completely no trees anywhere around me and seen it raining from no apparent cloud on one spot in the ground, just like constant pour of rain, in just a 3-foot circle. And explain that. I don't know. I just
But how hubristic does it take for people to look at any sort of weird thing and go, see, this is proof that we did this, instead of looking at the bigger picture? It's just,
I'm not saying we did it. I'm just saying that I'm not saying
right. No, yeah. I was making a broader point. Okay. And then to say that what we need to do is drive less and the weather will be more good. It's kind of I don't mean to be rude.
It's physics and science. I mean, when you release CO2, and there's 8 billion of us?
I've heard the models. I also understand the conflict of interest that all of these people have. And if Al Gore really thought the world was going to end, he wouldn't be flying all over the world constantly. If he really truly believed that he would be sitting at home, he'd be begging people to sit at home. He wouldn't be jet setting all over the world constantly for decades.
Yeah, it could have been Zooming or something, or Skype. But yeah, you're right. There's a lot of people who believe in what's his name? Leonardo DiCaprio. He flies everywhere. He cares a lot about the environment. But that's the thing. Most environmentalists are hypocrites. Well, a lot of us are, because we care about the environment. We don't want to stop flying. We'll go vegan, but we won't stop flying.
1 second. We had Frank in the back, and before I could get to him, he left.
We lost Frank
there.
Our Frank?
Come back up and
Frank,
tell me who you
come
are.
back. Come back, Frank.
Come back, Frank.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
How goes it, everyone?
I think Sean was talking.
Going good, man.
No, I'm fine. I think I've said enough. I'm getting scared now.
Look at all these environmentalists drinking out of plastic.
Don't be scared. We're just going to bash your views.
Yeah, we like you, Sean.
I mean, I guess my whole point that I wanted to point out is they take the good intentions of people like Sean and manipulate them for bad causes. And so if you really care about the climate or the globe, like whatever, you have to be privy to that so that you don't get suckered into supporting something that's antithetical to what you want to do, which is what they've been doing my whole lifetime. I'm 37. I've never seen an environmental movement that I think was sincere.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're right. People take a really good idea and then they bastardize it. There's groups out there that promote ecological responsibility, and they're carrying around these banners that are made out of fucking plastic, which is made out of petrol. You know what I mean? It's like you guys need to fucking think about this.
PETA kills more animals than animal shelters do. So,
but I mean, think about how much plastic bottles are floating around in the ocean. You could turn all that shit as petroleum. There's no reason why anybody who's environmentally minded wouldn't be going, hey, we need to take this trash and we need to turn it into fuel. That just seems obvious to me.
It wouldn't create a lot of fuel, though. It only create like 0.1% fuel.
It would clean up a lot of trash.
Yep.
And best we could do is come up with new solutions to deal with that trash, because I think we can all fucking agree that an ocean island that is formed completely out of fucking garbage is a bad fucking thing for the ecosystem.
Not really.
But see, this is what I think the trap is. We're here trying to solve the world's problems, while the people who are actually moving the needle are here trying to put money in their own pocket off of our desires. And so it's
that's good.
Maybe we could use the trash islands. It's like what Australia used to be for Britain. We can put the prisoners on it.
The reason I don't find climate change conversations very interesting is because of the India-China issue. That's just like a giant wall.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like the minute the conversations start, I keep hitting it every time.
No, but they don't send Thunberg out to fucking China or India, do they? Nope.
Yeah.
Well, the reason why the environmentalists don't want to talk about India and China is because they're poor, and they don't want to tell the poor countries, don't be like us, because the rich countries know that we got rich because of pollution of fossil fuels. So if we tell the Chinese that I want to be rich like us, they know that fossil fuels is the easiest and cheapest way to become rich.
We have to choose a cause. Do we care about the globe or do we not care about it?
Well, I don't think it has to be binary.
It does. It does in this situation.
Yes,
of course it does.
Well, you can say that, but at the same time, if India and China are producing more emissions, it wouldn't help if we created more emissions, would it?
Well, it doesn't do us any good to stop producing. If this is a global problem, you can't say that this is a real problem. We really care about this problem. It's really dire, but you guys are kind of poor, so keep on going on.
Right.
I agree with you.
It undermines the whole urgency of the situation. If this was really an urgent situation, we'd be going, you motherfuckers need to stop it. You motherfuckers need to stop it.
Look at COVID.
I mean, look at R11, R12, and they came out with R134. Which is it no better?
Since when do we care about other people being poor anyways? Let's be real.
That's right.
Right.
If they're too stupid to get rich.
Didn't you guys see like the Konstantin Kinson, one of the guys who does trigonometry, like his speech in front of Oxford, where he talked about this very thing? He talked about like his speech is absolutely like knock your socks off. And it's a mic drop. Absolutely. I mean, he absolutely just says like, look, the only way forward is through. We have to come up with better tech. We need to focus on better technology to actually deal with these situations instead of trying to like all these things to try to like reduce carbon emissions and everything. We need to find a way to make those carbon emissions work for us instead of against us. And he makes every point that I could ever make about it. Like that video says everything I could ever say about it. Really. I mean, it's just.
I think the whole thing's a psyop. It's all geopolitics. The petrodollar, the entire Western might rests on fossil fuel usage because of the petrodollar. I don't at all believe this is anything besides an economic attack.
Well, do you think it's beneficial to move away from that petrodollar, at least in some degree, so that we're not so...
Not for us. Not for us.
No,
I think everybody on this panel will suffer if we move away from it.
No, what I mean is if we could move away from it, but still retain some similar level of strength, would it be better to do that?
I think that the way you phrase the question answers itself, because it's sure. If we could have our cake and eat it too, sure, that sounds great. But I don't think that that's reflective of reality.
Sure, I would agree with you.
Yeah,
It's
I agree too.
reality, but it's something that we can look at and be like, huh, this is an idea that we might want to explore a little bit more.
Well, I heard.
Okay. I mean, yes, you're not wrong within the paradigms, but again, the paradigms that you're setting up the question are so restrictive and not reflective of reality that then what you step into is one in which, we're then moving forward under an assumption that's not reflective of reality.
Well, we have to have that conversation eventually. We can't just say, well, this is how it is. This is how it's always going to be. There's got to be some market change
peak oil.
point.
Peak oil, peak resources.
Man, I don't know how many times they can lie to you before you're like, they're lying to me.
No, they're lying to us.
Well, the Saudis say.
Well, I mean, aren't we? We're supposed to be in an ice age right now. California's supposed to be underwater right now. I mean, over the last 50 years, they've made it.
Like, why did you believe all that?
I wasn't even alive for it. I just have researched it enough to realize that they've hit us with every upcoming environmental catastrophe prediction they can have.
People
now it's
throwing it out there, like throwing out those crackpot. That's not them lying to me if I don't believe it or take it seriously.
Jeff, we know that you love your servitude.
When I was a kid, I don't know
what that has to do with California not being an ice age is suddenly me being in servitude.
Because if all of our politically motivated climate alarmists they have to keep changing things. You can follow Al Gore. I know Al Gore's not a scientist, but he's the mouthpiece.
I remember Al Gore.
He's the mouthpiece of this movement.
Even John Kerry.
Yeah.
Is that John Kerry too. They've been their narrative has changed, but their climate alarmism has not changed, and their solution to it, which is less individual freedom, take away your lawnmowers, take away your cars, that hasn't changed either.
Well, then I think it's semantics or the way it's being presented, because when somebody says I'm being lied to, I assume
if somebody tells you
was successful and
if somebody tells you,
put out misinformation,
Jeff, we have hard science. All the scientists agree we're going to be in an ice age by 1990, and then 1990 rolls around and we're not in an ice age.
I was around for that. I don't remember anybody talking about.
Yeah, they did. They did.
Whenever I was a very small child, they talked about global cooling instead of global warming.
Right. Look at the pattern of lies, and then though you weren't born, it was in the past, and did happen. They lied to us. They lied to everybody. And has it come?
It's like you're calling information lies.
It's not information if it's just flat wrong. It's either a lie or it's incompetence. At that point, I don't know that it really matters to me.
I think the information.
Science is not perfect anyway. Science is always science is always making guesses and correcting itself.
I know, but 180 degrees wrong. They were entirely opposite wrong. Where they went from we're going to be in an ice age to everything's melting, we're going to be underwater. So now the question is, are they lying or are they incompetent? Either way, you get to the same conclusion, which is we should not trust these motherfuckers. They don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
You shouldn't trust them without evidence. No, but that's what.
Well, I believe in climate change here, so I'll tell you what the scientists I listen to say. The ice in the Arctic is thinning, so it's getting thinner and it's shrinking. I heard that Europe is like 1.5 or 1.2 degrees warmer than usual. It's actually going to get warmer. I heard the Gulf Stream itself was slowing down. I heard that there's record drought in the Panama where we get all our crap from China and stuff like that. So it's bringing in less water for the trade, the canal, to get all our Chinese stuff. Farmers in Ireland now are complaining because it was raining a lot this year in Ireland. It was raining like twice as much. Europe right now is 13 degrees warmer than usual in spring, in April. So climate is getting worse now. So humans are going to change Humans are not that smart. We only change in like the short term. Climate change is a long-term problem. We only think about changing when it's short term. So when the effects hit us now, we're going to change more. But we should have thought about this 100 years ago. But humans are too greedy. We didn't want to change.
India and China, because they're the ones that need to hear this.
Yeah, I know.
Sean, have
China
you,
owns the Panama Canal.
have you ever looked into
do you guys remember the hole in the ozone layer?
Yeah, that thing magically went away. Again, another perfect example of scare tactic science.
Yep.
I thought it was still there, but not as big.
Well,
No,
who
no,
knows?
it's
Either
actually
way.
gone.
Look,
The hole in the ozone layer healed.
all these problems have the same aspects as any good scare tactics, as Satan. It's a religion. We saw Satan. He told us this stuff. You can't see it, but trust me, we seen Satan, right? It's the same narrative.
I remember they said,
let me ask you this
You can,
question.
you can look at pictures of the Statue of Liberty over 100 years. The water level has not changed.
Yeah. So let me pose this question, because I think this is a little bit more local of a question, and it might be more helpful to explore this. So if you look at the LA Valley, you know, in the 1980s, smog was absolutely atrocious. We had increased numbers of like lung disorders. It was horrible. And then we implemented emissions changes, and yeah, sure, the engines sucked, and they were slow, and they were boggy, and they didn't run very well, but they were cleaner. And all of a sudden, you see this. The LA Valley is much, much cleaner. You have much less lung issues than you did then. So in some ways, some of these changes can make a net benefit, especially locally. And I think locally we should be looking at it and being like, hey, this might be a good idea for us. But I agree with you. The numbers on global climate change is sketchy at best, at least the way that it's interpreted. The numbers might be true, but the way we're interpreting it could be flawed. But we can still do things in our local area that are beneficial. Like
and even if, let's say,
here in Utah, we have the worst smog problem during the wintertime. Like, I think it was for like the last 7 years running, we have been worse than even California when it comes to smog.
I didn't know that
it's
about Utah.
Absolutely, it's bad during the wintertime because we reside in a valley. So the entire Salt Lake Valley is a valley. And what happens is the smog collects so deeply that you have to go up several thousand feet to get above it. It is really, really bad, and we have a huge amount of increased lung issues from the cars, from predominantly the cars. And there's no way for any of that smog to get out of the valley until it starts to snow, and we have winds come through and get it out of our valley.
Don't eat that snow.
Yeah,
but don't live in the valley.
There's got to be, well, I mean, people are going to live in the valley regardless. So are there things that we can do to decrease that problem? Absolutely. And I think we should at least feel some kind of a responsibility to make that change. But I can't argue it out past the communal level where I live at, because I'm not in control of other people, but I can control my local environment. And I think that's where I would make the argument, if I was going to make any kind of argument, but for climate change, start locally.
Yeah, and there's a lot of solutions to climate change. You don't have to believe in climate change to apply the solutions. There's a great website called projectdrawdown.com. It's got the top 100 solutions for climate change, and a lot of these solutions can be applied even if you don't believe in climate change, because they solve other problems as well about the environment, air pollution, and the standard of living would actually probably be better in some cases. But I understand why people are afraid of fossil fuels being gone off, because everything we do relies on fossil fuels. But I think we could subsidize a lot of things we do with natural fibers, hemp, just buy less plastic. I think they should tax plastic more, like that we don't buy as much clothing that's all plastic and all that stuff.
So if you look up Utah inversion or Salt Lake City inversion, you'd probably find a lot of data on that. It's definitely there. It's a problem that we face every year.
Have any of you looked into geoengineering, what's going on right now?
A little bit.
Well, it's going on. All you got to do is look up into the sky and see chemtrails. They're not contrails because they evaporate within minutes.
Oh, Lord.
No, you don't want to. You don't want to go. You fucking don't want to go there unless you've looked up and really seen it. It's everywhere, all over the planet.
Where's your scientific proof?
Just vision.
Vision alone does not
And
mean it's an absolute.
here's scientific proof. Contrails evaporate within minutes. These trails, that whatever they're spraying up in the sky, does not evaporate for hours, and it turns into clouds. Fake clouds. It's all over my fucking house. Everywhere. Like
I'd have to dig into that one.
Yeah, every time there's a nice day, they start spraying these aluminum, barium, whatever it is.
Here's some proof.
Cloud seeding
You
is
believe
real.
that too, Flo?
Huh?
Cloud seeding is
You
real.
believe that?
Oh, absolutely, 100,000%. It's not even a belief; it's a knowledge. Like you can get on. I've got it saved somewhere here. The roster of who's spraying what and when. Yeah, it's not a belief thing. It's just out there in the open. Just because.
Well, what's the purpose of it?
That's a good question, but
Rain.
They're trying to increase rainfall.
Yeah.
Well, it's either that or they're trying to block out the sun. And guess who wants in on it? Bill Gates wants in on it. You can read about that. That's for real. I'm not going to go find that.
I mean, Busker, you can reel it back. Damn it, I need to find that link. I've got a link. It's a government website. It gives the registry of everybody who's seeding and where. And it's not just municipalities. You've got private businesses. You've got all sorts of people spraying shit in the air, and it's just public. It has been for decades, for almost a fucking century.
And now
it's not as nefarious or as innocent as people want to make it out to be. It's not.
But see, the problem is that like somebody takes this real thing and then they wrap stories around it, like Bill Gates and stuff. Bill Gates is a distraction.
Yeah. For sure
And
on
so-
that.
And it just muddies the water about something that is very real and very established. That companies, municipalities, most of it's local counties, really, but people spray shit in the sky all the fucking time to affect the weather. And then you have the Bill Gates narrative that just sort of sidelines the whole conversation into. And I'm not picking on Busker, but it is. I think it's meant to sideline the conversation out of reality into fantasy.
Well,
Yes,
They seem to do that on their own just fine.
Their excuse for all of this, like they've talked about putting stuff in the sky to block out the sun. So, like,
I know, but what they're doing, they are putting stuff in that. They have been for our whole lives. Everybody on this panel, for our whole lives, they've been putting stuff in the sky to affect the weather. And so then when you start talking about blocking out the sun, which is like a fantastic claim,
I know that's fucking Bill Gates.
I don't know.
This is the first. I hesitate to do this even, but this is the first time I've heard the blocking out the sun conspiracy.
Well, that was not a conspiracy. That was in articles. They're the conspiracy theorists. It was in articles.
Yeah, I'll explain.
Do not trust
From what
articles.
I'm a skeptic on chemtrails. I think it's just the fuel particles that comes out. It's like smoke, from the car.
There's no reason for you to be a skeptic on it. Just Google it, look into it. If you're a skeptic on it, it's intentional ignorance.
And it's not.
Let me bring something up here.
It's not some big conspiracy. It's just something that they've been doing since the 50s.
Oh, but they
So
can't tell anybody
don't
about
just-
it, can they? They can't.
They
tell
do
just
tell people
Google
about it.
something.
It's public information. Go
There's
ahead.
something they're experimenting with related to like helping to cool the earth by reflecting some of the sunlight back into space.
Yeah.
It's not blocking out
That's
the
the
sun.
excuse. That's the fucking.
There are scientists now really seriously thinking about geoengineering because climate change is getting so bad.
Thinking about it, they've been doing it, like Flo said, for decades.
So
But
Actually,
it's not for nefarious reasons, though.
Well,
It's not nefarious.
that's subjective, and it hardly matters. It was a main weapon during Vietnam. We kept flooding their supply trails using cloud seeding.
That's right.
So if I can bring
we
something up
didn't
here,
do very well.
I would recommend everybody here learn how to read studies and where to go to read studies. I don't trust Google because Google is inherently left-based, and so you're only going to get the most obscure
you're
shit from
correct.
Google.
You're
But I
correct,
would-
but it's so. But with the cloud seeding thing, it's so out there that it doesn't matter if you use Google or whatever you use, you'll
Sure.
find solid information on it and realize it's not
You can
a conspiracy
find-
at all.
find
It's been right here the whole time.
I'm
The US
advocating
Army
for
Corps-
more
The U.S. Army
in-depth
Corps
research.
of Engineers has listings of it on their website. I've read them before.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can
Steve,
go
I've
to
tried
Google
that.
Scholar.
It's not
Go
going
to
to
Google
work.
Scholar.
I mean,
Learn how to find. There's actually videos on YouTube on how to get past paywalls for reading studies. Learn how to read studies. Google Scholar is really good for finding studies. So is JSTOR, and you can do this research on your own. But just relying on articles is in my opinion, it's hit and miss.
Well, fuck the
So-
articles. Just look up in the sky.
Well, there's people who believe in flat Earth, so I don't really necessarily believe
No,
in just
flat
looking
Earth
at
is not.
something.
You can't see flat Earth, but you can see what's up in the sky and what they're spraying. I've seen it over and over and over. I've seen it from Baltimore City all the way to the county. It's
Well,
a
How do you know
unless
that-
you
how do you know that
got
it's bad? How do you know whether
empirical
spraying is bad?
data.
empirical data. Look, I know for empirical data, contrails evaporate. This shit does
Yes.
not.
We're not
Explain.
arguing that though. We're not arguing that. We're saying that yes, that does happen. It's real, but it's not necessarily for some nefarious secret purpose.
Well, no, you're cheating.
Well, I mean,
There's
if
nothing wrong
if somebody decides to crop dust an entire population so that they can get more rain on their crops, you can say it's not nefarious, but it seems kind of nefarious to me.
Well, I mean,
Well,
is
I
is
follow-
rain not beneficial to a city that has had rain that's in a drought? I mean, it can be beneficial to the entire city, not just the crops.
What we need to do is we need to get past this elementary second grade mindset of good things, bad things, right? Nefarious, altruistic. This really isn't the world we live in. The world
Well,
we
I
live in
agree
is
with that. I
self-serving
agree.
and self-interested. So is it nefarious?
that.
Who knows
I
and
agree
who cares? It just depends on how it impacts you. I would say I don't give a fuck if the farmers out here in Kansas want more rain. If they're dusting me with aluminum without consulting me, it's nefarious.
Yep.
Well-
That all comes down. I mean, like it comes down in the rain.
it seems like it would be easy by now to figure out if they're doing that or not. Like somebody
They're doing it. They're doing it. They're doing it.
illegally.
Full stop. I'm not debating it. I'm not saying I think it's there
Yeah,
on record. If anybody doesn't know about it, it's because they're not
All
interested.
it
in
is
knowing.
right now is a claim because we don't have the knowledge you have. So without that evidence,
Yeah,
to
I
us,
would have.
it's
I'd have to go
claim.
and
It's
look
something
and
you
pull up
say.
the studies. It's been years. It's been
I know,
years
but-
since I gave it about chemtrails because I put this to bed in my head years and years ago.
So
I
my
had-
point is that anybody who's not convinced of it is not convinced because they just don't know if they know, right?
No,
Like,
because it's just taking your word for it.
right. You shouldn't take my word. What I'm saying is you don't have to. Whenever you get off this stream, whenever you feel like looking into it, it's all right there in the open. It's public
Right
information.
in front of your eyeballs. You can look up in the sky and see it. If you don't see it one day, you'll see it the next.
It's like
That's
saying
what flat
it's like
earthers
saying I
say.
don't know if executive orders exist because I haven't seen any executive orders. Well, motherfucker, you just haven't looked up the executive orders. They're right there for anybody who cares to look.
There you go.
I see stuff about the.
I'm just
drought.
here to molest
I see
Frank.
Anything about farmers dusting people with aluminum?
Farmers
Well,
don't do it.
While we're talking about researching shit, this is a really interesting one. The Journal of
the Army
Geography,
Corps of
Environmental
Engineers is one that
Science,
does it.
Environmental and Earth Science International, and they have a conclusion, which is the public and scientific community have been systemically deceived into falsely believing that pervasive jet-sprayed chemtrails are harmless ice crystal contrails. We have presented radiometric measurements which unambiguously prove the falsity of that characterization for one specific but typical instance. We show that more general framework that the physical manifestations of aerial trails are inconsistent with ice crystal contrails, but entirely consistent with aerosol particulate trails.
There you
We
go.
describe the potential reasons for the deception and cite the extremely adverse consequences of the aerial particulate spraying on human environmental health. For the sake of life on Earth, the modification of the natural environment by aerial particulate spraying and other methodologies must be immediately and permanently end.
Yep.
So there's I mean, that's just one study. So I mean, there's some kind of evidence suggesting that chemtrails are a real fucking thing.
There's probably more than that even, but like they don't want people talking about it.
If you look at all the Olympics games, There's always news about them manipulating the weather using sprays around that.
Yeah, Andy Dearest just mentioned that a minute ago about China admitting. Although I don't think China was necessarily admitting anything, as much as they were bragging about it. But yeah. So.
Well, I heard that the shipping industry used to use bunker fuel, and that used to release a lot of sulfur, and that actually used to cool down the environment, the atmosphere as well. Sulfur is like a geoengineering thing. Volcanoes release a lot of it, and then they banned it 2 years ago. And climate scientists now are complaining because the temperature's gone higher up. So they're saying that it could be the reason why the temperature is going up is because we're reducing the sulfur aerosols in the atmosphere that cools down the climate. So when we stopped releasing sulfur, it actually heated up the atmosphere.
Sulfur creates acid rain.
There's one form of geoengineering, and they've been doing it forever. Like Flo said, they've been doing it for fucking ever. I'm not kidding.
At least since the 50s. Like there's records going back to the 50s.
Forever. Yes.
Yep. Dude, they started it up. Like if you look, there's information about when it got started. It was the 1800s they started fucking with it.
Okay, I know the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers stuff goes like the 50s.
Yeah, that's on a large scale. But what I'm saying is that they've been fucking with the weather since the 1800s.
Cloud change has been going on like ever since airplanes basically became a thing. So, I mean, look at the first airplanes. They weren't commercial airliners. They were they were used for like farming and like for dusting crops and stuff.
Yeah. I'm skeptical still of the plane air chemtrails, but I understand that the human civilization, with our pollution, we release loads of aerosol to burning crops and factory pollution, and that actually cools down the atmosphere by 0.1% or something. So if let's say we all stopped releasing all that smoke, we would actually heat up the atmosphere a bit. Fun fact.
Oh, and Steve, earlier I wasn't able to get to the microphone earlier, but when we mentioned the thing about how hybrids are the thing we should be investing in, I could not agree with you more on that. I've been harping on this forever. I know for a fact that my little hybrid Prius is better for the environment than any.
Gay. Well, no, I said hydrogen-powered vehicles. Hydrogen-powered vehicles. We need to invest in more in hydrogen.
I think hybrids in general, because they take in very little fuel and they take in less fuel to power more. I mean, just look at the mileage you take. It takes a full charge of a Tesla, usually depending on fossil fuels, to charge that whole thing with electricity. And you look at the fact that a little hybrid Prius or something like that.
But what's it like to drive around a Prius? Isn't it just terrible?
No, they're actually really nice.
Aren't you gay?
Well, if I ever see you, I'm going to run over you in my Silverado.
I've owned classic Mustangs. I've owned a lot of different nice more sporty cars and stuff like that. But the Prius does just fine. There's nothing wrong with it. And I only have to fill up my tank like once every couple of weeks, and it costs me under $20 even though I use premium gasoline.
Yeah, electric cars are more cheaper to run, and in the long term they release less pollution. But to make them, it makes more pollution. But I still think all the minerals that takes to make them is not very good for the environment. So public transport and walking is better, but nobody likes that. So electric cars are the middle.
I don't understand why hybrids got passed over for as a solution. I think hybrids are way better for the environment myself. And I've seen studies that said the same thing, but it's been a while since I looked at those studies. So
can we agree that Prius owners are untrustworthy?
I don't even know what a Prius is.
You're lucky.
It's a hybrid car. There's tons of
do they look different?
Imagine a hatchback with a dildo in the hatch.
Because I know people with hybrid cars, but I don't know if they're Priuses. This looks like.
Hey, did you ever find me my corn Adidas shoes? You and Cynthia were supposed to be on that.
I have not been thrifting, so.
This is pink.
I haven't had any money to go thrifting.
Like a car.
And Cynthia was supposed to call me when she went on her big thrifting thing, and she didn't call me. So
She called me while I was pooping today. Can you believe that?
Oh Lord!
I answered it.
In the middle of a poop, you answered?
In the middle of a poop.
Oh,
now Frank
sick.
is going to snitch on me because he's in love with
How
Cynthia.
sick.
I muted it when I flushed.
It's be interesting to see where the stream goes from here.
It's gone down the toilet, Jeff. Don't worry.
Lou, you can call me that, but I generally don't insist that people call me that.
You're not Jack Talcott?
I'm not Jack Talcott.
how dare you compare me to Jack Talcott?
I'm not Jack Talcott. I'm not going to yell at you people for not being what I demand you be.
Oh, come on.
This is your fault. You refuse to cooperate.
You're confused.
Your re-education camps you brought this upon yourself.
Yeah.
It's not my fault you have to go to re-education camps. It's your fault.
Dude, I remember listening to Alex Jones, and I was so scared of, like, you know, those death camps. They used to be like these huge plastic coffin things. And Alex Jones,
a train full of coffins.
What?
Yeah, do you remember that?
I do remember
Alex
that.
Jones used to make me so paranoid. I was like, what the
Look,
F?
the climate, that's a perfect example. The climate people are doing the same thing to you. Everybody's lying.
They're doing the same thing to you too. They're doing the same thing to everybody on this panel except for me, apparently, because you all have some of this.
No, you're already subdued.
So wait a
I don't
minute.
think
I have to
the
point
Fed is
some
at the
flawed
top of
logic
the
out
pyramid
here.
above the three branches of government, or that the Earth is a disc.
Oh. Yeah, because
So,
you can see it, right?
So if I'm hearing this correctly, I'm not saying that I disbelieve you. I'm just saying that the argument seems weird that this entire group of people are lying to me, but the people that are talking to you, convincing you, aren't lying too.
I'm saying
No.
everybody's lying.
Everybody on here has some weird conspiracy thing they believe without evidence.
Except for you.
Because I run things through the critical filter, and 99% of it doesn't pass the test, like the cognitive standards for sense and truth, and so it gets filtered out. And so I think that keeps a lot of this away from me. But and I try to apply that to what I hear on the stream from other
I'm so
people.
black-pilled,
And
I
all
assume
do-
everything is a lie.
like they're really
Well, Flo, Jeff
fantastic
believes
beliefs.
there's a reptilian that lives in the dome of the Capitol.
Well, he's got to have a weird extreme belief somewhere in all the normie worldviews.
I know I'm trying to find it. I really want to find it because I don't think I'm belief free. I think I have hidden things.
Do you agree that Barbara Bush Sr. and Michelle Obama are both dudes?
No.
I feel like this is one that everybody could get on board with if you look at some of their shit. Because, boy,
I think
For
Barbara
comedy
did wear the
purposes, sure.
pants.
For
in that
comedy
relationship.
purposes,
Barbara Bush Sr. is built like a state wrestler.
Yeah, I
She
remember.
is,
her.
yeah.
She was a tough woman back
was
from
I
the
would
day.
not fuck with her. She would put me in a full Nelson.
Okay, so if we're talking about conspiracies, I don't know a single person who doesn't believe that JFK wasn't assassinated.
Well, look, there's no doubt that happened. I mean,
He was. He was definitely assassinated. Like somebody shot
Yeah.
a gun.
Yeah, but if we're going by the criteria of not enough evidence, there's not enough evidence to support that he was.
Were there
But
people
you
that
mean like
believed
it's
that Ted
like who was
spontaneously
behind it?
exploded?
And did he act alone?
I don't believe that all these presidents were killed by one-off crazy people. If presidents were that easy to kill,
I remember Reagan.
Yeah,
I
assassinate Reagan. He's been interviewed. He was definitely
He was just getting in his
working
car.
on it.
It's super convenient that we've got all these. That anytime a president gets shot, it's like, oh, we're so incompetent. Here's this just one-off crazy person right here.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
that's never going to
Flo,
take it to court.
all that might be true,
know
but
what?
right
I
now,
think
all
I
it
found
is
my-
speculation.
I found my
That's
new
all I'm
pet
saying. So
conspiracy
my
theory.
filter would set it aside, and like other people's filter would, for some reason, say, "Yeah, that makes sense."
Jeff, sometimes
That's
you make me
reality.
feel
All
violent.
these other people don't know what I know about this thing. That's the truth, and that's the part that of the process that I don't think I've made it to with things.
I just found my new pet conspiracy theory. JFK wasn't assassinated; his head exploded by itself. He self-deleted his own head.
Yep, self-deleted.
He ate some.
Like Jackie was like in his ear nagging him about something, and his head just like exploded.
That's what Frank's video games look like.
He thought the wasabi was guacamole. He ate too big a bite of it. Boom! Head exploded.
And
Yeah.
he also had too much of that brown acid.
Yeah. That's my new conspiracy theory. I'm gonna pass it around, guys.
I want a conspiracy theory now, but it has to be convincing and believable. I have to not know that it's I was caught up in Russiagate really big. Like that one, I was.
You believe that?
That's one that was proven
I saw my way out
false.
of it, and then I could see how foolish I looked being in it.
Jeff.
Oh my
That's the reason you're so anti-conspiracy theory now is because of that, isn't it?
Right.
You
like,
bought
go get
off
your
on that?
Russiagate. Like I'm seeing all of your
Okay,
Russiagate
I think
that
that
you
anybody
played
who
on,
wants to go
like,
back and
I
honestly
saw
look at
Russiagate.
old footage of Barbara Bush and then come back, look me in the eyes, and say that's not a man, I don't think you'll be able to do it.
Oh, come on, Flo.
Barbara Bush is more manly than you or me, Chuck.
Hey,
those were different.
I don't know, maybe
times.
Buck
Like,
Angel.
by today's
Those were
standard
not
of man,
different. Yeah, women were more feminine and men were more masculine. You're telling me you got a string
Not
bean
all.
and her state wrestler husband, his state wrestler husband? Get out of here.
Hey, you want to hear a weird theory about Barbara Bush? She's the daughter of
Aleister Crowley.
Aleister Crowley, and she looks a whole fucking lot like
what?
him.
That's a conspiracy, or she really is?
No.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Barbara
weird
Bush
because-
always had those pearls hiding her Adam's apple.
Jesus.
But like,
it's because she has pearls. There has to be a narrative.
No, it's if you never saw her without the pearls. She had to hide that big old fucking man neck.
Means something.
Also, when you have the pearls, it makes her shoulders look smaller by comparison. Her shoulders were broad as fuck. That bitch looked like she was wearing shoulder pads constantly.
Was it? Well, she probably was. It was the 80s.
She might have been. She was Texan, wasn't she?
I'm talking about football pads. She's a linebacker.
She was a healthy woman.
You're getting her confused.
She was not a healthy woman. She was a healthy man.
You're getting her confused with Obama's wife.
No, and Michelle Obama, there's plenty of footage out there of Michelle Obama dancing and her cock flapping around.
I know. I'm saying, I'm just making a joke. You're getting Barbara Bush confused with Michelle.
Or Macron's wife. There's conspiracies about Macron's wife.
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
Macron.
Y'all get silly.
Like even if the mainstream normie narrative is true, this chick was still his high school acting teacher. That's still hella sus.
She's like 25 years older than him. That's crazy.
He
Michelle
is like
Obama
25
arms
years
was
old.
like a real thing for a while. People talked about her arms a lot, like in a really weird way, like a fetishistic way.
They grow everything big in Texas.
Including Barbara.
Including all Barbaras.
Yeah.
All Barbaras are grown.
Well,
big
the
in
shoulder
Texas.
pads for sure. This was
Hey,
not
Chuck.
Steve. I'll take account responsibility for it. I don't know.
It
how
was when
happened,
Jeff
but I
goes,
allowed
I'm
it to
interested
get
to see how this conversation goes from here. That's when he gave us the freedom to.
I'm almost 100% that Flo's finger was stirring it around somewhere. It was not just me, but I will take.
It's hard keeping track of all Flo's fingers. They get lost places. Isn't that right,
No
Frank?
one is seriously like ranting and like saying like even these are real. We're just like having fun with it. It's just a joke.
I'm
Hey,
not having
Chuck.
fun. I am for sure that Barbara
Yeah,
Bush
I'm
Senior
listening.
is a woman, is a man, is not a
Okay,
woman. That is
we're
not a
moving
woman.
I'm
on
so sure I
from
didn't take
there.
anything you say seriously.
She has a penis.
Are you from Tennessee? Are you from Tennessee? Yeehaw. Cowboy
I'm
country.
from Kansas City.
You do that better than the Tennesseans.
So I don't know if you guys want to get the conversation back on track, but I have a question for everybody here.
Does it make sense?
It's gonna make sense.
That might be a problem at this point.
It's a question. I'm just curious of how people think about what the manosphere looks like today, and is it net positive or is it net negative?
It's gay.
It's gay.
It's gay.
How is the manosphere gay?
The manosphere is a bunch of cope for beta males who cannot get women. And so they
Soy
cope,
boys.
they clump together and cope over how bad women are. It's like the ultimate in fucking beta. Like I hate to use that. Right?
And it
Do you
gets
think it's
worse every
beneficial?
generation.
They're
It gets
beta
worse.
testing cuckologist.
It gets worse every generation. Look at Generation Z and look what's going to become of Alpha, and the next one after that. It's going to be total.
We'll all
like,
be
pussy.
gay. We'll all be trans.
They'll
in the
just all
future.
be pussy. They'll.
Well, the gay people will all be trans. Y'all will be gay. We'll be trans.
But like
Gay is old news. Trans is the new thing. We're tired of gay people here on the cutting edge of society.
I think pussy is probably a better word for it.
I am actually that's the one reason I'm kind of sad I never got the chance to have a boy, because I feel like I could have raised a good boy, I could have raised a good man, but you know, just didn't work out that way.
But hey, you're pretty progressive. You've got a girl. You can still raise a good boy.
Yeah, it's not. We medically speaking, it's not safe for us having a baby. So.
Yeah, but you got to remember that Chris is transgendered.
Oh, am I?
Yeah,
congratulations.
The other
It's the
day.
state government.
How brave
I
of
forgot
you.
about that. Yeah, I forgot I was trans. I'm sorry. I keep forgetting these things. You guys got to keep reminding me that I'm trans and stuff like that, because I don't even.
And we'll keep reminding you
You're
that Barbara
supposed to keep
Bush is
reminding
too.
us. Now we have to remind you to harass us for misgendering you. We have to do all the work now.
Jeez.
I mean, I just forgot about
You'll
it.
just
I mean,
keep
you don't have to
pushing those
remind me.
rights further and
I'm just
further.
saying, if you want me to remember that, then you'll have to remind me, because I'll forget.
Well,
I
asked the question.
The doctor, somebody at my hospital did write me down as transgender, and I had to explain that to the nurse that was doing triage on me, and that was very, very funny. Me and the nurse had a good laugh.
Did she say, "Sir, we have you down as transgender," or
They got
or
you
"Ma'am,
confused
we
with
have you down
Angel Buck.
They did not use a pronoun.
Oh, Jeff, that's funny.
You know, he kind of looks like Buck Angel now that I think about it.
Yeah.
That's what I said, especially the day he was telling it.
Yep.
He really did.
Sorry,
Buck
Frank. I tried to
Angel.
get the conversation back on track. Didn't work.
You did
No,
good.
sorry.
Manosphere.
We
It's
need
pretty
an
trans.
alpha daddy like you to keep it.
Hey, I'm dropping down. Maybe you can get the conversation back on track without me, but I will be listening. I go live in a couple hours. Come on over.
All right, well,
Get freaky.
it's good talking to you.
All right.
No, I'm concerned about how men's issues are being basically smothered and drowned through these voices that constantly attack the people that we're supposed to be sharing our society with, which is women, right?
Yeah.
A lot of these people,
Are you
they attack
talking
women,
about
or they
the PUA? What I thought is the manosphere is being displaced by the PUA part of the manosphere, and
I
now
don't know what
people
the
are
PUA is.
associating what used to be
Pickup artist
something
community.
positive
Pickup artist
Oh,
with the,
yeah.
with the pickup artist movement.
The pickup
And
artist
every
movement
time
has been
people
around
talk
since
about
the
Red Pill and
90s.
Manosphere now, they're talking about people like Andrew Tate, and that's not anything that I'm talking about when I use Manosphere and Red Pill. So I think the terms have got co-opted by this
So,
PUA movement.
well, let me clarify it then. So, what I'm talking about is these groups of individuals who consistently attack women and feminism in general, which to some degree they're right about certain things, but this attack, this attack on women and women's rights, and saying that, well, women have traditionally been, in the home and have their value depends on their body count, is just absolutely ludicrous to me. Like, it's just this kind of return to this almost neoconservative view of what women should be doing, and I just wholeheartedly disagree with it. And I was
They
just
should
wondering what
be-
everybody was.
They should be
Sorry?
barefoot pregnant and in the kitchen.
Yeah, and I wholeheartedly disagree with that.
And make me a damn
I
sandwich.
was being facetious.
I get it. I get it. Yeah.
In this day and age, it doesn't exist anymore. Like, women are like, they want to do their own thing and they want to work their jobs, and that's cool. But like, it doesn't exist like that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're all like Barbara Bush.
I
And
would
there are
argue that
women that want the traditional role, and they feel shamed into not wanting it. They feel shamed
Right.
into not wanting to be
absolutely,
a
and
wife or a mother.
that's something that I think this third wave feminism has done is that it's fucked up both men and women. Because
what makes third wave now?
Well, so third wave is where they really begin to attack masculinity. You know, the first wave and second wave, that was more about equality and the investigation of the interpersonal, right? That, like, we are women, we deserve rights, was the first wave. The second wave was
at some point there was a conflict between like the sex positive ones and the
there's
sex,
that too, yeah.
and it
But I'm talking
split
about,
around,
like, the
and one of them
queer
became the
majority.
new wave or something.
Yeah, but the second wave was like, hey, we deserve to make the same amount of money. We deserve our the same place and position in society. And then the third wave really went after and attacked men and masculinity like it was the fucking problem. And
Those are the
that
ones
that specific wave, I think, has done more damage to the community of men and women in general, that it's now created this society where women feel like men are useless and that we're not needed, and men are just like, that's fucking stupid. You wouldn't have the lights on in your house if it wasn't for us. So it breeds this constant conflict between the genders. And I'm not even going to get into the trans conversation here. I'm just going to speak just straight, gender binary. But it concerns me that this is poisoning people's relationships, because the two genders are communicating even less effectively than they were before. I just want to kind of get your guys' perspective on how you feel about it, and what you think the detrimental effects of that's going to be.
Check it out. Like there's a 3.5 movement, which is the Hollywood propaganda movement. And that's like been on the uptick big time with like so many TV shows and movies. If you pay attention, read between the lines, it's like women are more like really dangerous men.
Yeah.
And they rule the roost, and the men are really stupid and they say stupid things. That's always
like for a long time, dude.
It seems like just about everything I watch, it's like that.
Dude, look at any sitcom from the 80s. Dudes have been like the butt of the joke. The dads have been the butt of the joke ever since like sitcoms became a thing. The women,
the women were too back then, but they're not anymore, really. I mean,
maybe in I Love Lucy, but beyond that, like, I don't think there's. I mean, look at Dick Van Dyke. Even like Mary Tyler Moore wasn't like, she wasn't a, like they completely, they literally, that's right around the time that whole idea flipped, where like, I mean, Dick Van Dyke's character wasn't a complete doofus, but he became more so over time, and then more and more shows started copying that formula. I mean, look at any of the popular sitcoms from our time period, like going all, like if they were about a family, if they're a family sitcom, like the dad was always a doofus and the mom always was right, and the dad always did the dumb things. He always like brought home the wrong anniversary gift. He did did all the stupid things that men supposedly do. It's been beaten into the skulls of men for a long time.
Hollywood, and it's on an uptick for the white male is the either stupid or the evil or evil person, probably both.
Yeah. Well, this is one aspect of conservative culture that I really appreciate, is they seem to at least really value the men in their lives. Like really truly value the men in their lives and the sacrifices that the men go through.
My sister's conservative, but she definitely values her husband, and that's for sure. As much shit as he's given her over the years, she values him.
Yeah.
And are you worried that like women have too much power? Are you worried that they have too much power, so they won't need men as like for taking care of the kids? You think there'll be too many single parents and all that? Is that what you worried?
No, I'm worried about how the dialogue creates animosity towards each other, and how difficult it's going to be moving forward having viable, deep and connection with partners running in the future.
Well, and Steve, you've talked about this extensively in the past, like on our panel, even about the importance of having a father figure in the family with children. and how much more important actually is to have the father there in past those initial, like those first 3-4 years than it is even have the mother in those situations. I mean, there's exceptions to the rule, of course, but it's a real big deal that we have so many, that the attitude that the men simply aren't needed, and therefore like women feel like it's, you know, like they can just replace that man anytime, that kind of thing, but they can never replace the father of the child, you know, no matter how hard they try. And it creates a lot of this. There's like a really negative mentality that's beaten into us from childhood as boys, that we are incompetent, that we are the idiots, that we always do the wrong things, and we're always the butt of the joke, kind of thing, and we should expect to always be this way, kind of thing.
Stereotypes are kind of half true though, so.
Well, no, not all the time. I mean, yeah, they might come from somewhere, but whenever they get reinforced so much, they become more true instead of less.
Yeah. Well, when we look at more egalitarian societies, when men and women are equal and there's less combativeness between them, they are generally more prosperous because they recognize the strengths of each partner. Whereas we're not recognizing the strengths of each partner, we're actually criticizing the strengths of each partner with this culture. And I think that's going to be to a detriment of everybody, including families and children.
Well, if you have to criticize me that much, then don't be with me. Just go find it seems easier to just go find the man you want than to sit there and criticize and change. And
well, that would make sense, Jeff.
If criticism is the path to reconcile, do what?
I said, well, that would make sense, Jeff. Meaning you're right, yeah.
Is that why people don't do it?
If only human
I don't know.
beings did things that made sense all the time, right? If only human beings would always.
I try to do what makes sense. I mean, I don't always pull it off, but I try to do what makes sense.
Yeah. People on this panel maybe, but for the most part, people out in the world don't typically do what makes sense.
This is the Outliers. Sorry about that.
Yeah, get it straight, Jeff. Come on. No, but seriously, like when you look at relationships where both partners really honor and respect each other, they're incredibly strong. They're incredibly powerful partnerships, and these are the partnerships that you see succeeding literally in fucking everything that they do. Right? They're just a force to be reckoned with. Right? But then you get these partners that are constantly at each other's throats, trying to figure out power dynamics and power differentials and all this other shit. They fucking go nowhere. They're so consumed with
competition.
Right. Well, it's not just that. It's like recognizing, okay, what are your strong suits and what are my strong suits, and let's play to those.
That's collaborative.
Right. It's collaborative. You know, and me and my wife that I have now, we don't have any children together, but we still raise a family together.
I've always liked
teamwork.
I've always liked there's one biblical term I've always really liked in terms of like when it calls, like what it refers to is with Adam and Eve, it refers to, you know, them as being each other's helpmates. I think the idea of a helpmate is a very useful way of thinking of things in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like the two of you are your mates, but you're there to help each other. Not one meant to help the other one, but you're meant to be each other's support instead of looking at it as like I think the idea of husband and wife are such vague terms to a lot of people nowadays. They attach like all sorts of weird like connotations to them that don't really need to be there.
Yeah.
And if we looked at things more like, you know, this is my helpmate, this is my partner, this is literally someone who is my partner, not just my partner in like for sex or whatever, like a lot of people think of it, but like your partner in terms of like your life partner, the person that helps you actually live your life. If people would think of things like in more of those terms, I think that, plus it would also keep people from getting into, you know, unwise and stupid relationships they shouldn't be in the first place, if they were looking for someone who really could be their partner instead of just someone who they have a lot of fun with or whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you need to be completely pragmatic and boring about it, but you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like there needs to be an element of practicality to relationships that's just not being taught or even really talked about.
Yeah.
Hey, Chuck, you're in Tennessee. Are they conservative over there? Chuck Norris.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Tennessee is a conservative state.
Extremely conservative in this state, except for Nashville.
Yeah.
So are you like in the
Nashville is
countryside?
going liberal.
Are you like in the
Go ahead.
countryside with all the cows and nice, beautiful fields and all that?
Yep, sure am.
So like you'd be a traditional like conservative values kind of wife stay at home and you work in it outside and all that stuff.
I was actually born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri, which is the big metropolis, but I've always been conservative by nature.
So you don't like those liberals in California doing all this weird shit?
No, I don't. I'm sorry. I don't agree with their perspective in life.
They'd mistake him for an old hippie if he went. He'd blend right in.
I grew up in the hippie era, so I know about the hippies.
Were you part of the hippies, or did you feel the same way then about them? Were they weird?
They were weird.
Well, hippies back then were just generally anti-government.
Yeah,
I was associated with peace and love and freedom. And
but what pissed me off was the same compassion that people have nowadays about wanting to get messed up on drugs all the time. That seemed their sole goal in life.
Hey guys, I gotta hop off. It was good to talk.
Yeah,
sorry
good talk.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming by.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Sorry if I spurged a little bit about the geoengineering.
Dude, this is the place. This is the place.
All right, brothers.
No, it's not the don't encourage.
Well, I'm going to research it more, Busker, because I'm curious about it. So
yeah, I mean,
well, I know.
Look up in the sky, man.
That's what flat earthers say. They say, "Look out straight." The
No,
earth is flat because I can
it's not
see it.
easier to look up in the sky to see what they're doing. So I gotta go see it.
Yeah.
Well,
all right, man.
Steve, there was a study done not too long, the last 5-8 years, where a group of 22 scientists set up various testing facilities and found no evidence of this mass chemical infiltration of society from the sky.
Yeah.
I'd have to look it up again.
But were they lizard
definitely
people, though, Chuck? I mean, do we know they weren't lizard people? Come on. I mean...
Well, I think it's important not to trust your eyes, but to trust science in the sense that, science can provide a lot of answers for us. But I don't mean like trust the science as in like 100% trust the science, because even science doesn't trust itself that much. Yeah.
But just because I can see something doesn't mean it's real.
Absolutely.
Especially don't believe science headlines. Science headlines are often bullshit.
Yeah, they are. And don't trust articles that don't provide sources, credible fucking sources.
Even on like Science News Daily and stuff, I've read so many articles that were just like I kept looking for like, okay, and where do I go to learn more from here? And like there's nothing, it's just a bunch of claims.
Well,
I'm like, okay, who let this
I'll tell you what I'm disturbed about here lately is I go to research articles and you find out the article was written by AI. It wasn't even written by a person.
Oh, fuck. Yeah.
And I'm like, how can you even print that as an article? It's not even real.
Yeah. And that's why I think it's so important that people learn how to read studies appropriately. Because when I started doing more of these kind of panels and more of these debates, I really had to learn how to read studies correctly. Like you have to know what the N number is. You have to know how many blinds were involved in the study, and
I hate that stuff too. That stuff hurts my head.
Somebody yesterday or last night brought up myocarditis from the shot.
Oh, myocarditis.
Yeah, caused from the vax, right? Well, I looked it up and did my research, and it's only 8.5 people out of 1 million that develop myocarditis.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is 0.000008%.
Yeah.
They're running with a tagline that all people that got the have myocarditis. I'm like, no, that's false. Do
Well,
your
that's another reason
research.
why I don't trust articles, man. They're usually there's something happened 20 years ago. I think it was probably 20 to 30 years ago where articles and just in general journalism really took a weird fucking shift towards the emotional appeal rather than the
Yeah.
factual appeal.
Yes.
And we all lost something out on that. We lost out on really true great journalism when that happened.
They turned to
You know.
sensationalism.
It's always kind of been that way, but like I noticed this shit very early when it shifted from like the more Phil Donahue type talk shows to the more
Yeah.
Geraldo, Jerry Springer type.
Well, there was a
Donahue wanted
principle
those
in
deep
journalism.
intellectual dives into topics, and they were fascinating to me. But when the other sensational types started,
Yeah.
he had to start adapting his style to that.
Drama.
And,
Well,
and you could
there
tell he
was-
wasn't comfortable doing it.
There was up until Reagan's administration a fair reporting doctrine.
But Jeff, if not for Jerry Springer and Maury, we probably wouldn't have Survivor today. So
Yeah, but up until Reagan's administration, we had what was called the fair reporting doctrine.
Yep.
The FCC had a fair reporting doctrine, and it was taught in schools, in high school, in colleges, the fair reporting doctrine. Like you had to, if you were going to write an article about something, you had to write into that article the opposing view, so that the reader was more informed for having read it, and that has stopped. Like most of these articles nowadays, they follow more closely an essay format than they do a journalistic format, and that's the problem that I have with with reading articles and such like that. It's like, yeah, you can glean some information from it, but then you have to go like 10 further fucking levels to find out if the information that they provided in the article was actually valid information, and were the studies that they mentioned in the article, were those validated studies? Meaning, did someone go back and retest those fucking studies to make sure that they were actually accurate?
It was
Roland Fryer from Harvard, when he did his study on police violence, right? He had 9, I think it was like 9 research assistants, and they all gave him this information that came to a specific conclusion. He was like, I don't fucking believe this. So he hired 9 new RAs that didn't know anything about what the study was going to be, and he had them perform the study, and they came up with the same conclusions. Now, when you do that, you have a very, very strong argument for the conclusions of your study. That's the kind of fucking work that I want to see happen more.
Didn't he get lambasted for it? Didn't he have people tell him
massively. Yeah, Harvard tried to drum him out. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched the interview with that guy. That guy's a brave man. He really is.
Yeah. Very, very smart too. Very fucking smart.
Yeah, very smart and very actually has integrity. You know, their integrity in science these days is such a rare thing. Like I have so much respect for that guy.
And when it comes to surveys, you can write that survey to achieve the outcome that you want.
Yeah.
Surveys.
That's why wording is so important.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, surveys are difficult because you like just posing a question can influence the way that the person thinks about the answer. Right.
Yep.
So surveys are somewhat unreliable unless you're talking about, wide spectrum issues like, how acceptable is interracial marriage, right? That's a question you can answer fairly easily. But if you're talking about how people feel about very, very specific niche aspects of society, then you start asking very specific worded, phrased questions that influence the response. Which is why a lot of studies are done with, double-blind, triple-blind studies, or double-blind and triple-blind procedures, is because they realize that even naming the study can influence the answers of the person participating in the fucking study. So, some studies you can't even trust, some studies you can trust, and you've got to learn the difference between these two things or you're going to be suckered. And it was incredibly frustrating for me when I was going through this process and learning it. Thank God I had people that I know that are academics that were able to, unbiasedly show me how to tell the difference between these things as best as they possibly could. They're human beings, so they're going to be biased. But, it took me probably a good close to 2 years to really kind of fathom the depth of how to read these studies, and then continuing to read studies and learning more about the studies and learning how to find whether a study was disproven or was challenged or whatever of that stuff, people can become overwhelmed by the complexity of it and just say, fuck it, I'm just going to believe the fucking articles because it's easier to support. Right. And we've got to, as a culture, stop doing that. We've got to start understanding that there is an intense amount of nuance when we're talking about these kind of situations.
Yep.
They should teach you that
You'll
in
actually gain
school,
much more insight.
in secondary school. They don't teach you that in school, do they? I never learned that really.
No, you have
I didn't go to
to college to
university.
do that.
So.
They taught me, but I went to a special school. They didn't teach
Yeah.
in regular public school.
For me, being a layperson, I didn't go to college. I went to a technical college, right? That's a completely different fucking thing. But learning how to do all this stuff, I had to research the shit out of it. I watched so many fucking YouTube videos on how to understand studies, and then I'd talk to my friends who are PhDs in psychology or African American culture or any number of different things, rhetoric and composition, shit like this, and talking to them and being like, hey, how the fuck do you guys do this without, losing absolute confidence in the entire process? And so they were able to walk me through that. And it's still taken me years to really even understand it. So it's not easy, but it's definitely fucking worth it when you start to understand that the perspective is much wider than just an easy binary answer of yes and no.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's
okay,
very
guys,
few studies out there that are absolute. Very few.
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna go. Okay, see you guys. Nice
All right,
to
take it easy.
But one of the studies that was the most impressive when it came down to its conclusion was what was it called? It was effects of antidepressants on men and women with chronic depression disorder. So, that one was fascinating because what they found is that the medications were basically, it was a 50-50 crapshoot. There was such a huge difference in how some antidepressants affect men and women differently that there was no middle ground. There was no fucking crossover. Either it worked for you or it fucked you hard. It was one of the most groundbreaking studies that I think is most commonly ignored when it comes to antidepressants, especially with people that suffer, major depressive disorders. But most studies, you have, you'll find some semblance of a scale. I can't remember the name of the graph at the moment, but one of the graphs that we mentioned the other day was a J graph. Where you have a line plotted between 2 points, and you can see it speckled with different examples all over the place, but they follow a general curve, right? And so even within these studies, you still find some deviation between the extremes. Like even if you're talking about IQ and intelligence, it's distributed massively different between men and women, even though they meet in the middle to some degree. There's still massive differences in the outside deviations. So it's frustrating to learn how to do that. But I mean, if you're going to have intellectual conversations with, actually knowing your shit, you have to learn how to study these things. You have to learn how to read them. But it's definitely worth it. Even if you gain some kind of cursory understanding of how it works, at least you can be part of the conversation and have it be a productive conversation.
That would be nice in a dream world.
I think it's possible in a real world. I mean, it just takes people pushing themselves out their comfort zone and doing what is ethically and intellectually responsible.
They're not gonna do. Well, it's a nice aspiration. So.
Yeah. Well, for example, one of the things for me was, because I work in the men's sphere as much as I do, I read a whole bunch of studies that really support, men and fathers and their role in lives. And then someone will give me another study that is equally as powerful, but it's on the opposition. It's like, you have to learn how to hold two truths in the same head at the same time. Yeah. It's incredibly difficult, but I can't remember who said it, but they said, the mark of an intelligent mind is one who can hold two competing ideas in their head at the same time. And it is uncomfortable as fuck.
Is it?
it's super
I
uncomfortable
hold
for
like
most
10
people.
at a time, or I don't I
Yeah.
didn't know that some people struggle with.
Yeah, some people really do struggle with it, including myself. I struggle with it too. But
I feel like I am nothing but contradictions all the time. I feel like I live in a state of contradictions. So like I don't. Yeah. I
yeah,
seriously do. Like,
Contradictions actually make more sense to me sometimes as reality than
yeah.
having them resolve one way or the other.
Well,
maybe it's because
that's
I'm a
one thing
dualist. I'm a dualist at heart. So like my basic philosophy, no matter how hard I try to fight it, is basically based on like the contrast and contradiction of two different things that should be exclusive, but they're not. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, I think for the most part, when we talk about things, we like to talk about things in the binary because it makes us feel more comfortable believing that we know the truth about this, whatever X thing is, right? But when you really get down to the nuts and bolts of it, both of these two competing studies actually have quite a bit of knowledge and information in them. And you can say, one of the things that I don't like the manosphere for, like the general, like anti-woman manosphere, I would say, is that they don't acknowledge, some aspects of women that are incredibly important. Like women should have the right to do what they please with their bodies, and they should have a right to do what they want when they are deciding their own fate. That's their right as human fucking beings, right? But the manosphere doesn't promote that. They don't advertise that.
I haven't seen a lot of that in my.
So Andrew Tate is a perfect example of what this would be. It's like, women should be subservient to men, and it's just like, no, they shouldn't be.
Who's saying this?
They should. Andrew Tate.
Andrew Tate has said that many times.
That's
A
what I'm
bunch of other
saying.
ones,
Like
too.
this,
Fresh and Fit,
I'm
Andrew
thinking
Tate.
y'all are talking about the red pill. What's the name? Cassie J documentary and those people, Paul Elam and what's the name? Peter Wright and the.
So no, those people
people
are
that
amazing.
do
people.
work in men's rights work and the red pill manosphere, and the manosphere is huge. So there's different subdivisions. And Andrew Tate's is one subdivision, but I think people are associating the entire manosphere with that now.
Unfortunately, he's the loudest and most vocal of them. That's
But originally, the red pill term, Cassie J did that documentary, which kind of helped
the red pill.
the term. And it was all about positive masculinity as a counterbalance.
I think the term was around before that, but
yeah, but she did it right.
Matrix thing.
So that I see it as a positive. So when I say I'm a red pill, I'm talking about like the Cassie J type from that documentary. When you say people are promoting, I think you're talking about those people, but you're talking about the Andrew Tate types, which I don't even could count as part of my manosphere movement.
So I count that as the manosphere. The other ones like the red pill and stuff like that, I would consider them more egalitarian and more about promoting human rights than I would say focused on the manosphere. So when I talk about the manosphere, I'm talking about the Andrew Tates. I'm talking about the Fresh and Fits. I'm talking about maybe it could be considered that. But the problem that I find there is that they pigeonhole women into this very specific kind of box that is not productive for either of the two genders.
I didn't know they were saying all that women.
Oh yeah, dude. Just go listen to Fresh and Fit. Listen to Andrew Tate.
Yeah, they say all women are whores. All women only care about your status.
I mean, they can think that and advocate for it on an individual, but I don't think any societal policy. I don't think it. I'm not worried that it's gonna have
young men really buy into it.
Yeah. There's a much larger component of the manosphere that follow those individuals than they do the red pill kinds. Right. So when she made the red pill, she really did something amazing. She took it and she was like, I don't like men. And she's actually said this. She's like, all I heard them saying was women are trash, women are shit. Right. And then she objectively looked at it and she was like, that's not what they're saying. They're saying we need help. We want to be loved. We want to have communication. We want to have a life partner, and we want to respect the person that we're with, and we want them to respect us. Right. It was a brilliant breakthrough in what I would consider, acknowledgement of men's issues. But that's not how the other ones are dealing with this, and it's going to have a negative effect on society in general, I think.
Well, to me, all we can do is provide alternatives. I don't know what's out there as an option.
Yeah.
But every time I try to go to like the Boy Scout group and try to teach things to young boys, well, call the cops on me every time. I don't know. It's a joke. It's a joke, guys. I've never done that before. I'm just saying. But my point is though that unless you have a boy of your own, like there aren't a lot of ways to try to inject those unless you want to become an influencer. Unless you can figure out a way to be an influencer with the same kind of flash and panache that Andrew Tate does, but in the opposite direction. I don't know how to make. I don't know because for a young man who hasn't really his brain hasn't fully developed yet, his whole worldview and outlook looks very attractive. Money, girls. It's just it's rapper culture type thing. Money, cash, bitches, hoes. It's it's just like this
yeah, and I think there's going to be a portion of men that's always going to be drawn to that. But I think at the root of this, even larger than this, is the issue of lack of fathers, lack of male initiation, and
a lack of healthy masculinity,
et cetera.
It's a lack of healthy masculinity.
Yeah.
So the best thing that we can do is promote healthy masculinity.
And the traditions in place to pass that masculinity onward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But the problem we're finding is that these individuals, they talk so poorly of women that even if you look at the state of the school systems here in the U.S., it is not boy friendly.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
it's really not boy friendly. And so trying to change the world in that sense where we can start accommodating boys so that they are more productive and the school systems actually work for boys instead of against them is a monumental problem. But I think slowly through having good, intelligent conversations about healthy masculinity with the right people, we'll start to influence those systems to the point where they might just take a look at it and be like, yeah, the majority of our boys are failing. What can we do differently, to help these boys succeed and actually taking it fucking seriously? I just barely announced that I was going to be pulling my son out of the classic, school system here, the public school system, and I'm putting him in a military school.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is he high school yet?
He will be next year. That's when he's going to be going into it. And here's the thing: is like this military academy, they have a maximum of 550 students between 7th and 12th grade. That means more attention from teachers, right? Better services inside the classroom, more focused work on how boys learn, rather than the system that's being currently used in the public school system.
Residential or just day school?
It's day school.
Oh, okay.
So, what do you think about homeschooling? If you're for or against it, Steve?
I'm sorry?
What do you think about homeschooling? Are you for or against it?
Dude, I would absolutely do it if I had the money.
Is it expensive to do where you are? It's like homeschooling is actually cheaper than any private school.
Yeah, but someone's got to pay the mortgage.
Oh, right.
I've got to work.
Both working. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mostly after the point that I was after I got to 12 or 13, I mostly just did the work myself. I was self-motivated, self-taught. My mom even trusted me to grade my own papers because I always graded them honestly. But but I was homeschooled my whole life, and I had the choice to go to public or private school if I wanted to, but I chose to stay because I graduated, and with that I graduated at 16 too. So it afforded me. I wish I'd made better use of that extra time, but I didn't. But nonetheless.
How does he feel about it? What's his thoughts on it?
He's really excited about it, especially because he found out that he's going to be able to, if he does all the right things, he could actually leave high school with a pilot's license.
That's really cool.
He was super stoked about that.
That is cool as shit, though. I gotta say. I mean, I've never wanted to be a pilot that much, but if I was in that kind of thing, man, I would be if there was anything I would want to do in the military, yeah, that would be it, right? Because I used to work at the mall right next to all of the military recruiters, and they used to come over and harass me, especially Air Force and Navy. I mean, the Air Force recruiter almost had me a couple of times. He was he really got close to talking me into it because he made the Air Force sound real nice, but then I was like, I still got to go through boot camp and shit, so no, I'm not interested. I just know myself too well. I know I would laugh in the face of a drill instructor and get my ass kicked.
No, I would too. I know that. I know the same thing. In fact, my brother actually did that. He was in the Marines and had to go through basic, and he did laugh in the drill instructor's face and got punished. So I know I would do it.
Yeah, I just I know myself too well. I know the way the drill instructor. I can even see the way he was, because he was clearly like an ex-drill instructor himself. The way he talked and everything, and the way his whole demeanor was, and I had trouble not laughing at him. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to go. It's going to go well for me. I'm going to end up doing nothing but push-ups and clean latrines for the rest of my.
Yeah.
So I ultimately opted to not go that route. But like in terms of like the technology side and everything, the Air Force, I mean, like I take the ASVAB, even though I was homeschooled, I took the ASVAB at one point because our whole school group took it, and I got like almost a perfect score, or I did get a perfect score, something like that. I guess isn't really that hard to do, honestly. The stupidest test I've ever taken in my life, but I got like pretty perfect score on the test, and like so they were like they hounded me for years.
Yeah.
Joining the military, and I wasn't interested, but like I kept asking them. I was like, well, what I want to do is make movies. Is there a filmmakers program in the military? And they'd be like, well, we do have like, not really, but
They make those recruitment videos.
Yeah.
Yeah,
gonna make them.
Not the way that I wanted to. Like I was like, I want to make original films. Do you think you'd support that in the military? They're like, well, they always get tongue tied and like they wouldn't know what to say.
Yeah.
You have a creative arts department.
Yeah,
we got to. Well, that's the thing too. Is like when we're talking about boys in school, it's like I really wish we would change this kind of perception that we have of how we educate boys from the position that's why are we not focusing on what these boys are interested in? Let's say that you've got a boy that's going through high school and he's really interested in film, right? Why can we not promote that and have him learn about the history of filmmaking rather than the history of some obscure time period that he really does not give a shit about and will not learn it even if you teach it to him?
I completely agree. Yeah. I mean, for example, like if you got a 13-year-old, he's really into porn. Why aren't we teaching more about porn? I'm just kidding. It's a joke.
Like the perfect example. So I played violin through most of my junior high and part of my high school time, and I love classical music. Right? If I could have, I would have gone down the route of musical theory. Right. So what would have happened to me if the school would have been like, this kid is really gifted. He really enjoys music. Let's send him to more musical classes. So not just playing the musical instrument, but musical theory, musical history, right? And then you can tie in other aspects of history, like how did the Civil War in France affect classical musical literature, right? Or whatever. I don't even know if that's a fucking thing, but you get my point. It's like you can tie in history to the passions of the person. And you can really help craft individuals and craft the best part of who that person is. But we don't do that in public schools because we're so concerned about test scores.
And we're also
that was from No Child Left Behind, though.
Yeah, No Child Left Behind has been an atrocious travesty on education.
Degraded since then.
And a lot of the public schools are very overloaded and overwhelmed. Aren't enough teachers for each student, for the students. There isn't enough time for a lot of these teachers.
But also, when I was, my elementary school had 0 male teachers. My junior high school, the music teacher who we saw once or twice a week was male. The other junior high school, I had 1 male teacher the entire 2 years I was there, other than the PE coach. High school, I had a few male teachers. So women are only going to go so far with teaching boys and teaching or knowing how to teach boys and males.
Yeah,
I know. It's something that like that's what I've said before about like that's like kind of like one of my overarching like bigger goal, like bigger goals that I don't know if I'll ever reach them to any degree, but like I would like my open source studio idea thing, like kind of a big part of that is about education and about having like open education type programs to help people learn about like different kinds of art things they want to do and stuff like that. And because like I really like teaching, I'm really good at it, and it's I couldn't teach in a public school system though. I couldn't. Yeah. I've talked to many public school teachers that went into it, and like I've heard their stories, and I'm like, yeah, that's not for me. Like the way they follow the curriculum, the way they do stuff like that. I mean, I would want to spend time with the kids and actually figure out what they wanted to do and try to help them achieve those goals in really specific ways. And it's just not something I have the ability to do in a public school system.
This is a perfect example, Chris, of how third wave feminism has really kind of destroyed men's options, which is, you know, because of third wave feminism, now men are perceived as these abusers, as child molesters and stuff like that. And so there's been this stigma about men in education, especially early education, you know, K through 6, or even childcare, like, preschools and such like that, that men don't feel comfortable in those spaces because of that.
Yeah.
And so the children are missing out on the perspective of male educators. And we really desperately need more male educators. Not to mention, male educators might actually get teachers paid more overall because we're more aggressive about our pay scales. That might actually help women get better fucking pay in education. So there's so many reasons why we should do away with these stigmas that men are these horrible fucking creatures, you know, and that were
absolutely.
These abusers and shit like that, you know, and I think it was it was Warren Farrell. He came up with another acronym from it, you know, to not combat STEM, but come from STEM at a different angle. And I can't remember what the acronym was, but it did involve education, childcare. There was a couple of other ones. I wish I could remember what the fuck it was because it was such a good analogy. Because it was nursing, childcare, and a couple of other things where men are desperately underrepresented, and these are fields that men could do very well at. Men are caring individuals. We do tend to think about things more than people, but men are actually really, really good nurturers.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that you always hear, like, there aren't enough women in STEM, there's not enough women in this, there's not enough women in that. No one says a word about the things that there aren't any men in. No one says a word about those things. They never.
That's the combative nature of third wave feminism.
Yeah.
And it hurts everybody.
It hurts everybody.
Literally fucking everybody.
It really, third wave feminism really has fucked over so much of society. And I mean, it didn't have to, but it just did. Like, you know, like it just did.
Yeah.
It's really, I mean, like, because I'm a feminist in terms of, like, I believe in women's equality. I believe women are human beings that have the same rights as any other human being. Male and female do not have much distinction in my mind, which is why I've become less and less like, sensitive to the trans issue and everything over time. Just because, like, I'm just like, you know, I just don't even care anymore. Like, I don't even see men and women that differently, you know. But like, it's just.
Some of the Andrew Tates in the world too, they're like, well, women can't do everything a man can. Well, yeah, you're right. Women can't lift, 100 pounds constantly all day. But guess what? We're human beings. We can create machines that will fucking do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like that reasoning is so vacuous and disingenuous to me. It's like if a woman wants to go into construction, she's more than capable of doing it. And if there's a deficiency somehow, maybe it's a physical deficiency where she can't lift as much as a guy can, well, we can create things that will help do that. And there's no problem with having female bricklayers.
How many women do you think really want to go into construction, though? I mean, how many women do you really think want to do that?
Probably not many. It's fucking hard fucking work.
Architecture maybe. But
yeah.
I don't see that being. I've never spoken to and I've known a lot of women. I've probably been close friends with more women than I have men in my life, and I have never met a single one that ever mentioned wanting to do construction or to do any kind of manual labor work like that ever. I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm just saying like that's just one person's general experience, but I just don't think there's that many women out there that are really that like just like they just really want to be construction workers, but they won't. But the patriarchy won't let them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've worked with a couple of mechanics that were females.
Mechanics. That's one thing, though. Mechanics is like but that's thinking work. Like being a mechanic is. That's like
it's both physical and thinking.
Yeah.
You know, tires are not light. You know, doing ball joints is not easy work. You know,
It's not.
but
I'm not saying
also
it's easy,
doing
but
engines is not easy either.
it's not as simple as like, you know, as like doing like working on a construction site though. I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
Yeah, I think they're two different beasts, absolutely. But the example is that there's no reason why they wouldn't be able to do those, except for any kind of physical limitations. And there's ways around physical limitations.
Yeah.
You know, but we don't promote women in mechanical fields. We don't promote women in construction fields, right? Not like we promote women in other fields or men in other fields. You know, and I think it's just a genuine disingenuous conversation when we're not highlighting the nefarious arguments that some of these individuals are making.
Right.
Why do we need to highlight bad arguments instead of just ignore them?
Well, so that we can do away with stupid fucking ideas.
Oh my God, that's never. I mean, I try to do that on this channel, without much success, but that's never been like a major goal of mine to do because I found it so futile most of my life.
Well, it might be
to
futile, but
having stupid idea. I just leave them. Like they're grown adults. If they want to walk around with stupid ideas, I can't be the one to go around and correct their ideas all day long.
Well, the best way to combat a stupid idea is to combat it with a much better one that makes more sense to everybody.
Yeah.
You know, that's the best.
Yeah, when I hear it, like
intelligent.
It sounded like he was like in advance. We should bring their argument, like not wait for it to come up or wait for them to show up and make the argument, but
that's not the way I
should bring the argument and start to make it for them so that we will know what the argument is. And I just don't see the point of platforming a bad argument if we don't have to.
I mean, if you come across a bad idea, I would think it would be beneficial that we try and investigate what we perceive as a bad idea and see if it is actually a bad idea. But the point is having intellectual conversations about what is viable and what's not.
That's why whenever I encounter a flat earther, I try to understand why they're a flat earther. Not because I think flat Earth has any credibility whatsoever, because it's stupid to me. But like,
have you achieved any insight? Have you achieved any? Because I do the same thing, but I don't ever get anywhere.
I know I can't say I have, but like I still hope one day.
I'm trying to understand the free will thing, and I'm running into the same thing. So I sincerely try to understand because I'm interested in mental processes, and I try to figure out what the process was that led them to that vision of reality.
Yeah.
I think I do understand.
They don't give me enough information to figure it out.
I think I do understand your free will thing. Actually, Steve, you weren't here that day, but I can't even. I don't even know if I can remember well. Right now, my brain's so scrambled. But like many other time, like I do. Nonetheless, I off stream, I was thinking about like your points, and I do think I have a grasp on your concept of free will, and I understand, and I also understand why I conflict with it, and why it's like, you know, and how our viewpoints really aren't that different. They're just it's just a matter of perspective, really.
Yeah.
But I don't have the energy to get into it today. But like next time you're on, like, well, I'll try to talk about it. So it was really I had kind of an epiphany type moment with it where I was like, oh, I see. You know.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. It's just really hard to articulate.
Yeah, it is. It's a difficult conversation to broach, and so we can have that conversation another time. We don't have to do it today because it's already a 4-hour long live stream. But
today's my D&D night. I should wrap up soon.
Yeah.
Chris, are you gonna are you around later to watch Survivor? Frank wants to know.
Sure.
Okay.
I should be here all night. All I have to do tonight is, assuming that my medicine doesn't knock me out, I should be around to watch Survivor for a little while. I'm trying to fold up clothes and I'm putting them into these vacuum bags so that I can like suck all the air out of them. And
why aren't you resting? I thought.
because there's no one else with this stuff done, and if I don't, and I have to go, and I have to juniper here in days.
But you have to recover from pneumonia first, and then you can do that.
Yeah, I know it's what Lindsay keeps saying.
This is poor. This is poor self-care, and if you keep pushing yourself, you're just going to make yourself more vulnerable.
I never claimed to be good at self-care.
Spiral.
The best thing you can do for your family is care for yourself. Yeah.
All I'm doing is I'm just t-shirt squaring a bunch of stuff. It's not really that stressful. I'm just taking a t-shirt square and taking shirts. I'm just doing fold, and I'm putting them in the stack. Okay. I'm putting them into a bag. So it's not that big deal.
Do try to get some rest and get over the pneumonia.
Just message me. Just send me a direct message on Discord. Those I still have notifications on for, so I can get so I'll know when you're actually messaging me.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah.
All right. All right, Steve. Really good talking to you, man.
Yeah, same here, man. You guys have a good night.
Yeah, you too. It's great as always. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for dropping by.
Thanks for all the listeners.
And always feel free to come to the Discord and watch, Survivor and stuff.
Oh yeah, I think he is in the Discord. Okay, I'll do that. I'll message you later tonight.
All right, see you later tonight. Good night.
Alrighty. Signing off, everyone. I may do an evening stream. I may not. I'll see how D&D and all the other stuff goes. So, but I'll try to do a few this week because I want to start incorporating more. But outside of that, we will definitely be here tomorrow at the same time, etc., etc. So, see you then, and have a good rest of your Sabbath, your Satan Sunday, or deity of your choice. Take care. As soon as I get the music going, here we go. There we go. Take care.